It's time for MacBreak Weekly. Andy, Alex, and the return of Jason Snell. Lots to talk about. Of course, Jason's got all the iPhones. We'll talk about the iPhone Air. It's surprisingly repairable. The latest rumors about MacBooks, both this fall and next year. And a little bit about the new TechWoven cases and how durable they are or aren't. All that coming up next. So get your crossbody strap on and get ready. MacBreak Weekly is next.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
This is MacBreak Weekly, episode 991, recorded Tuesday, September 23rd, 2025. The Naughty List. It's time for MacBreak Weekly, the show where we cover the latest news from Apple. Welcoming him back from his tour with the National Guard in Memphis, Tennessee, Mr. Jason Snell of sixcolors.com. Hello, Jason.
Hello, sir. Good to be back, sir.
You raised a ton of money.
Yep, we're still doing it. stjude.org/relay. People should go give
nice.
to St. Jude.
You did the overnight thing, the marathon?
It's not overnight. It's noon to midnight Eastern.
Oh, that's
11
kind of
to
a
11.
cop-out.
So 12 hours. Yeah, I mean, no, we don't do it like midnight to noon. It's noon to midnight. Yes, it is the biggest cop-out a 12-hour-long telethon on YouTube could possibly be.
I gotta get going. It's my bedtime. But
I think more than $100,000. So,
that's
I think what
awesome.
we've decided is that asking them to produce, because the people at St. Jude produce this show and it's in their studio, and asking them to work, we're already pushing it, asking them to work for 12 hours.
That's
straight,
why we stopped doing the 24 hours of New Year's. We did it 2 years in a row, and Lisa said, "No more. You're killing the staff."
No, yeah, exactly. I mean, 12 seems like we reached this. We started, I think it was 4, and then it was 8, and now it's 12, and we're not gonna. 12 is it's plenty to demonstrate that we're working
your
hard.
Commitment. So I liked the 24. I enjoyed it, but apparently I was the only one. Everybody else was like, never.
I've done a couple of those, a couple of 48s and 72s, and
there's 72. That's a lot.
It's a lot.
You go through with any lengthy performance thing like that, you go through a series of
ups and downs
of moods. And I mean, having done this 3 times, I'll say, there's you look at your watch and you're only 2 hours in and you think, oh my God, we're going to be here forever. And then you look at your watch at 4 hours in and you think, I'm completely exhausted.
Right.
And then you look at your watch and it's 6 hours and you're like, I could do this all day. And I am.
Yeah.
And then the last hour or so, you were just completely loopy.
Yeah.
So that's how it works
fun.
for me.
We enjoyed it. And the last
like
one,
running a marathon, I suppose.
Bald and with a tattoo. So it was an adventure, that's for sure. Andy Anako also here. Mr. Anako in his weekly quarters, his conjugal visit quarters, I believe these are designed.
No, I didn't. America, the threat to midnight clock on American democracy and freedom just ticked another. So I'm not taking any chances.
Are you in Jimmy Kimmel jail? Is that where you are?
No. I'm in a place where I can be. It's private. It's secluded. There's only one defensible avenue in front of me, so that if people rush in, I can just pull this lever behind me, and then the trap door, and I'm on my way to Istanbul.
Nice to see you in your pre-Turkish prison. And also joining us, Mr. Alex Lindsay of officehours.global. Hello, Alex.
Formerly Constantinople.
It was.
Why didn't Constantinople get the...
Nobody's business but
the Turks. Yeah, I think so. I think we can all agree.
There's some people there that have no idea what we just said.
Even Old New York was once New Amsterdam. Why they changed it, I can't say. I guess people just liked it better that way.
I went orange, and I'm not looking back. This is the Peak Design orange case to complement the fabulous. Now, I am not going to try to scratch this, but there have been a number of reports that this anodized aluminum finish on the Pros is scratchable. Especially the dark.
I've done a fair number. I have the blue one, and I've done a fair number of things that should scratch it and haven't scratched it.
Good.
So I don't know if that's it's
people notice that at Apple stores that the display models are indisproportionately scratched up for how long they've been on display. And that's kind of getting some people worried about what will my phone look like in a month's time or 2 months' time or 3 months' time. It is, I mean, it is a display unit. It's being handled a lot, but nonetheless, you are going to be handling your phone a lot. So remember, that's how we found out about the problems with the woven case from 2 years ago.
It feels like people go into the Apple Store with the intent to scratch.
No. I don't think so. The level of wear that's on the photos that are being posted is not like, hey, look, someone decided to take their keys and see how durable the ceramic shield is. It's like, no, there's like where the MagSafe connects, you see like a little patch on corners and basically where it's being handled and being picked up and put down. The level of wear that you would expect to see on a device that's being naturally handled, or as they say on Antiques Roadshow, good, honest wear. That makes you think that, okay, this was an actually used ceremonial mask. This is not something that they made just for tourist export. But it may not mean anything. But the thing is,
jerry rig everything as usual. It took X-Acto knives to it and was able to scratch it. But if you take X-Acto knives,
well, I like his test because he doesn't just simply say, "Hey, well, I've got a 55 caliber Deathbringer bullet. Let's see if it'll resist a bullet from 80 yards." Woo! Yeah, he takes a set of like scratch testers and on standardized hardness tests and tries to figure out if the display is scratched on number 6 last year, now it's scratching only on number 6 or number 7 or number 8, which demonstrates that yes, it is more durable. He also did a durability test that impressed me. He did the bend
test on the air, right?
Yeah, he tried really hard to bend it with his hands. He couldn't. It would flex, but then it would flex back. And then he decided to do the silly test, but still substantive test of taking it out to the garage, use mechanical force, and he put a force strain on it, and it did not break until 200 pounds of force were placed at it. And it's not like you sit on. That means if you sit on it with a 200-pound butt, it's going to break. It means that if you put like a rope around the middle of it and put 200 pounds of force on the middle, yes, it will bend and break. He himself was very, very impressed with the durability with the thing.
They obviously reinforced it with steel girders or some sort of thing.
It's titanium. Titanium has a really remarkable amount of tensile strength.
It bends, but it bends back. Unlike the aluminum of the iPhone 6.
Yeah. Look, if you bend it hard enough, Apple News pops up. That's good. That's good to know. Also interestingly, the iPhone Air is very repairable according to iFixit, which I think is very interesting. Maybe that's because almost the entire guts of the phone are in the camera bump.
It's as if they were trying to figure out how do we get all this into a small area that we could put in glasses.
Simplification often will help repairability, right? That's what's going on here.
Also, don't forget that they have to fix these things too. So to make it so that there's multiple steps involved, but it is pleasing that it wasn't just the repair for this is you basically get a new one. We have a toilet paper roll of iPhone Airs. We just tear you off a new one and give you one.
Yeah. Here when it's open, you see that this almost entirely the thin part is
just battery. Battery behind the screen. That's that's all that's there.
And then all the other stuff is up here in the camera bump.
It's like the life cycle of smartphones is, first off, the priority was sticking features in however we can do it. I can't believe this is so miniaturized. We'll just stick them wherever. And then, there comes that second phase where Apple's like, of course we would rather, because remember, most phones that break go to Apple, right? Of course, we would rather they be more repairable. In the early days, they were not repairable, not because of some conspiracy, which is the thing that always made me roll my eyes, but because they were prioritizing their functionality over repairability, because in the end, they were trying to sell iPhones and push the market forward. But in the long run, as that settles down, you are the one fixing your phones. So you're going to want to make it as easy to do that. And also they're trying to simplify with approaches like putting the whole computer in the bump. And that makes it that much easier because all you've got is battery. And so iFixit, I'm not surprised, but iFixit iFixit isn't going to treat Apple with kid gloves, right? iFixit's going to give it to them if they want to. And that they responded so positively to this is really interesting.
Yeah, 7 out of 10 provisional repairability score. Contingent, I think, on Apple providing parts. And of course, Apple will also, as you know, provide tools to open the device. Usually you think, oh man, it's so thin. This is true with laptops. It's probably not repairable, but that's good. Apple's standing by its commitment to repairability. Well done. Now what do you have, Jason? We should update you. Jason's been missing because of that fabulous.
They couldn't find me anywhere.
Fundraiser, missing to us, not to anybody else.
I mean, I've got what do you want to talk about? I've got it all. I mean, I've got like Alex. I've got a Blue Pro here. I've got an Air here, and I've even got over here. I've got a. It's still in box.
Oh,
17.
You got a regular Pro, yeah.
No, this is a 17.
Nothing. Yes,
yeah,
that's what
it's not.
And then I bought the silly me, the Ultra 3, which I'm quite liking.
Nice.
And I bought the AirPods Pro 3, which I'm quite liking. Of course, it turned out that I didn't need to because the Ultra 2 and the AirPods Pro 2, which I had, have all the features of the new ones, pretty much. Almost. I mean, it does fit a little more snugly.
Oh yeah, the AirPods Pro 3 is a much more substantial update than the Ultra 3. The Ultra 3 adds like satellite communication, but that's about it. But the AirPods Pro 3, they made a bunch of big changes there. I've got those here too.
Actually, in all three respects, battery life much improved. Well, everywhere except the Air, I guess. But on the Pro, the 17 Pro and the new watch, the Ultra 3 watch, and the AirPods Pro 3, very, very much improved battery life. I really am enjoying that.
Actually, I think the AirPods Pro 3 case has less battery than it used to.
Oh,
but the AirPods have more battery. So the net result of how long you can go out with just your AirPods in your case has gone up. But it feels to me like it went down a little bit.
More battery because I don't want to put them in the case. I want to listen.
You're on a transatlantic flight. I mean, they charge so fast that you could charge them real fast while you're like eating dinner or whatever. But like, you can now go that much longer without having to put them in the case to charge.
Nice. Well, I most am interested in what you think of the Air. I mean, I feel like the Air is getting a mixed response. Some like it because just aesthetically they really like it. But I think there was durability concerns. Those are no longer valid. But then there's also just this. Its battery life is pathetic, right?
No, I mean I haven't spent enough time with it to talk about the battery life, and I would argue that most of the people out there talking about it have not spent enough time with it to talk about the battery life yet. It's a hard thing to measure battery life. Yeah, but look, the Air. It's a funny thing. Every iPhone does not have to be all things to all people anymore. Apple sells 5 distinct new iPhones now, right? With these 4 plus the 16e that's still around. They've got some distinct slots they need to fill. And you could even argue that if you want power and all of those things, like the Pro is there for you. And if you want some of the stuff that used to be Pro features, the 17 is there for you. The Air is not for everybody, and you're going to make those compromises. It only has 1 camera. It has less battery life. These things are all true. I will also say you hold this thing in your hands and it's unbelievable, right?
Yeah,
like it's not believable how light it is. It's not just how thin it is, but also how light it is. But like the most important thing is when it's between, a couple of fingers in your hand and you're looking at it and it feels futuristic.
Yeah.
I think it also feels, I've seen people say, they didn't get the MacBook Air right the first time out the door. And I mean, I had that product. That was a disaster. This is a much better product than that. But even with that bad laptop, you could see where it was going. And I feel like that's what's going on here is like Apple is pushing this technology to show where they're going to be able to go in the future with phones by prioritizing the battery and the display being as thin as possible and then having a place for the compute basically to live. And like, it's not going to be for everybody. But I would argue we've reached the point now where most people don't need those Pro features. Like the battery life and the camera are the reasons that you'd opt for the Pro. And I think that that's perfectly reasonable. And I think that'll be the most popular model. But having this for people who don't care about that stuff and really love how cool and new and interesting this is, I think that's smart. I also think, like we said about the 16e and even the 17 is probably like this. This is the kind of phone that is not going to appeal to people who rush out week 1, week 2 and buy an iPhone. This is the kind of phone where you see one and you go, oh, what's that? Or it's time for you to, get a new phone and you go into the Apple store and you think, whoa, wait, what? And if you're coming from an iPhone 14 or whatever, the feature sacrifices are a lot less. So I think this is going to be probably a successful product, if not the number one. And then in the long run, I think this is where it's going. No, I think the Pro is their best seller, right? I think that'll remain. Apple would love it, but even, I think it will sell better over time than it did week 2, because I think that there's a lot of pent up demand from kind of power buyers who want the latest and greatest. And I'm not sure this is
just
for that.
Automatically buy the Pro Max without even thinking.
Yeah, just you don't even think about it. And I think that I would bet that people who buy the first 2 weeks are not the same people who buy the other 50 weeks of the year, right? I would bet the mix is different. I mean, I don't think it's maybe dramatically different, but I would bet that the mix is different, because if you're so in tune to iPhone releases that you're buying at week 1 or 2, I think that there's a vast mass of people out there who just don't buy phones like that. And they'll see this and go, whoa, wait a second, what is that? And there's a market, we've talked about it before, some portion of the iPhone market just wants something that looks different. Now, I think the Pro also looks different. So you get your choice here. But if this does feel kind of like the future, and I think that's interesting. Even if you don't want it personally today, I think this shows you Apple flexing its skills in ways that are going to be interesting over the next few years.
Yeah, and I think you're right about the pre-orders and the first week buyers are not necessarily indicative of what the entire iPhone market is interested in. The information had a report saying that Apple had basically put out a directive to its manufacturers to increase output of the base level 17 the 17 nothing by 40%, because they got more pre-orders and more orders for that than they were expecting. So that shows you something about what demand is. I suspect that there's a lot of pent-up demand or people who didn't. The 16 was not enough to get someone to upgrade. Maybe the 15 even had not been enough to get somebody to upgrade. But the 17 looks like a good enough and as much of a different package to say, yep, I'm doing it this year. This is the year that we upgrade. And these are not the people who are going to be spending $1,200 or $2,000 on a 2 terabyte iPhone 17 Pro, or take a risk on something that's stylish, that has one speaker, one lens, less battery, that kind of stuff. So pent-up demand.
I talked to 3 different people that got the Air, thought that it was an amazing camera, and then either took it back or gave it to somebody else because they wanted the Pro.
Really?
They got it. They thought, oh, I can do it with the Air. And then they opened up the camera and they just realized how much different the camera systems are on the Pro and the Air. And they were like, it's really small.
It's a big trade-off.
It was a huge
it's a
jump
good camera, but it's only one, right? And I think that there are some people, I knew a bunch of people who got the 16 last year because the 16 had those beautiful colors. And they're like, I can make it work. And then they used it for a week or two and they're like, I can't make it work. And they went to the Pro because and that's fine. Again,
so used to it.
The beauty of this is it used to be back in the day there was only one iPhone and they really needed to thread that needle, and they just don't need to thread that needle anymore. It's a product line now, and all of them can serve other purposes. There literally are, in the last year, 5 new iPhone models have come out that are still available for sale, and they're all hit. We don't judge the 16e the same way we judge the 17 Pro Max, right? They are super different phones, and that's okay as long as they find an audience that makes it worth Apple's time. And I feel like the Air will probably get there, but who knows? I mean, I don't know what the composition of it is. I feel like a lot of people will look at that camera because it's a 48 megapixel camera, which means it'll also shoot at 24, with just in the center. It's a good camera, but it is only the one, and we'll see how people react to that.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting that now that everybody's on the bandwagon of, this is just a dry run for the foldable iPhone, because now basically put a hinge between the two and I put a folding screen between them, and now you've got 2 of these together and you got it. And if that's going to be an $1,800 or $2,000 phone, is that consumer going to be happy with sacrificing photography on it? Because it's not just a question of, oh, well, gosh, you can't do Genlock, it can't do... Alex would insert a whole bunch of acronyms that I can't remember or can't understand.
ProRes.
But it's all that sort of stuff.
Wrong.
Most people are just like, oh, well, gee, I can't fit. On my old phone, I could fit everybody at the restaurant table together because I had that ultra wide. This one I don't. Like, oh gosh, when I was taking pictures of my kid playing softball, I could kind of zoom right in. On this one, I can't kind of really do that. And for $2,000, I think I wonder if that's a long part of the discussion of how good can they get away with having a basic camera setup, or do they have to at least deliver equity with a mid-range iPhone?
Jason, when is your review? When do your reviews start? I presume you're reviewing them.
I'll review them, but once you're not in the reviews that drop under embargo, there's
Right.
no
There's no urgency.
There's no urgency because
Right.
I want to spend time with them, and I'm not breaking any news. Like those first reviews are like breaking opinions from the first people who are allowed to tell you what they think of it. And that moment passed, last week, basically a week ago, Wednesday for the iPhones. So I'm going to spend time with it, and that's, and think about the product. And I think that ends up, I've spent a few years now trying to think about like, how do you do an iPhone review 2-3 weeks later? And I think the answer is, do you have some interesting thoughts about, some of the stuff we just talked about why the Air exists and where it fits and who might want it and who might not. So we'll get there, but I don't anticipate having a review in the next week or two.
I think that's see, sometimes it's better to wait and think.
Yeah.
Lisa, we got our phones on Saturday. And Lisa said, "Why don't you do an unboxing?" I said, "Because by now nobody wants. There's no point.
All boxes are open.
All boxes are now open. We did decide to go to the store, and I was kind of surprised. Here we are, 18 years in, and was still a long line of people with appointments. To pick up their phones at the store.
I saw that.
I think I had a Friday morning on my porch.
I think that if there's less excitement about the phone, that's
Alex,
more
I didn't wake up at 5 a.m.
I didn't.
I woke up at 6:30 a.m. and I went, "Oh crap!"
I couldn't decide what to get, and I ordered it on Wednesday and had it Friday morning on
what?
Like it was the Pro from Verizon. So I had.
Yes. Okay. So that was the secret. My neighbor did the same thing. I said we couldn't get it till October 15th. Yeah. That's because you got it from the carrier. The carrier has.
I have one AT&T phone and one Verizon. And we realized that my Verizon was ready to be upgraded for very little, so it cost almost nothing to get it, and so it was. A
little note on those. The subsidies are back, but those are 3-year subsidies, and if you want a new phone in those 3 years, you're going to pay it off.
Yeah, I don't use that phone very much, so that it's at like a minimum.
Right.
It's like so I got 2 of them because I figured if you're going to test Genlock, you should probably have 2.
You need 2 for Genlock.
Yeah. But on top of everything else, like I almost think it's foolish to have it shipped to you because there's been so many reports over the past couple of years of delivery companies being an inside job, that there are people inside the depots at the delivery companies that are just breaking into the boxes, stealing them.
That's why Apple on the return address doesn't say Apple, but AI.
Yeah.
Oh, that'll fool them.
Yeah. I'm sure they all know.
On that iPhone-shaped box.
I mentioned it last week. My little trauma trying to find my Mac Studio. And it's very clear that everyone at UPS knows exactly what all the Apple boxes look like. They were able to scan the wall and just go, no, it's not here. Like we know
We're
it.
good friends with
our
UPS driver, Tony. We love him, and we've known him for years. And so I pretty much, in fact, he even says to me, he says, "Hey, I have these in the morning. You want me to make them drop you off first?" And I said, "Yeah, that'd be nice." So
my FedEx guy used to be like he would I don't know if he ever made if he saved up some time so he could talk to me for 15 minutes about I bet this is the new iPhone. Like, what do you think about the new processor? Should I get the 256 gigabyte model or can I get the base level?
I love it.
And great.
You're the local expert.
In exchange for not stealing it from me, yes, I will give you 15 minutes of.
It's kind of fun to go to the store and wait in line. There's still a little bit of that kind of nice feeling. We have a mall Apple store up in Santa Rosa, and it was fun. We have to walk through the Spirit store and the old Sears to get there, and so that was spooky.
The Spirit store is the Halloween of some company or some store that gave up the Spirit, right?
Oh,
and
yeah.
So the Spirit store always takes over.
It's always in a dead store. Yeah.
It's like a dead store.
I bet a lot of Sears locations over around the country have Spirit stores in them. What else? What else can we say about these phones? It hasn't been said. It's 2 weeks.
I took it out. I took the 17 out shooting. My daughter was playing there's this Porch Fest in San Rafael where they have it's like 20 bands playing at the same time all through this one little section of San Rafael, and so her band was playing
fun.
And I took it. My son had one camera. I had I had an immersive camera for the beginning of it, and then I used.
You had the Ursa?
Yeah. So I was shooting with that.
There's a guy on 4th Street. He's got an Ursa.
Yeah. No, I don't think anyone noticed. I was although I did bowl right into the front because I was like, I got to be up.
I got to be up front.
And so I But after I took only the first couple songs with the Ursa, and then I moved over to the phones, and I gotta say that the 17 is just a great camera to shoot on. I've really become addicted to cinematic mode.
Yeah, you mentioned that. That's 24 frame, right?
Well, I think it has a couple different frame rates that are available on it. It's not just 24, but what's interesting is that you have to get over the fact that you don't have to refocus it while you're shooting. You just shoot the whole thing the way you just shoot everything and frame it and let it do whatever it's going to do, and then knowing that you're going to go back into Final Cut and just start tapping on things and refocusing everything. It's a weird approach because I realized about halfway through shooting these a couple shows ago was that, I don't have to tap on the screen. Like I was worried about tapping on the screen all the time. I was like, this is very stressful. I don't want to shoot. I don't want to shoot cinematic. And then I realized, no, I can actually just shoot whatever I want, and then I'll deal with the focus later.
So what is cinematic? Cool. It's like portrait mode for video?
It's like portrait mode for video, but it has, basically it's capturing all that depth data. And so instead of burning in, it keeps the metadata. So it has everything in focus, that's there. And then it is.
So you choose the focus later. You can
go into Final Cut and you see all the focus areas. If you turn on cinematic mode in Final Cut, you'll see all the little squares, and it's the primary reason I use Final Cut, because I kind of go back and forth between Final Cut and Resolve. But the primary time I'm using Final Cut is for the cinematic mode, and you can tap on people's faces, and you'll see everything it can autofocus to.
Oh, that's kind of neat.
And you just tap on it, and you can refocus everything as you go through it. It's pretty slick. It is limited to 1080p because it's kind of doing this thing that's inside.
Mine says on the new phone, 4K 30 is the max it can do.
For the cinematic mode?
Yeah.
Maybe I was doing something. It might have been what I was using. I was, what happened was I was using 2X on it because I wanted to jump in. If you go to 2X, I think it'll
it's the lens. Yeah, I was on 1X. I see I can get 4K 30 on 1X.
Yeah.
And then 2X. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, now the best it can do. No, it still can do 4K 30, it says.
Something. I was in the middle of production as I have a bad habit of like just going and shooting stuff. So
that's all I can do. I don't know what else is there. I don't have time to figure it out.
No, it's usually because it's right when it's happening. Like I'm just like, well, they're playing, so I better get going. So,
how about the front camera? What do we think about this new square sensor? It's on all of them, right?
Yeah, it's on every single one. I think it's a game changer. I mean, we'll have to. I need to spend time with it, but like the idea that they built a new bespoke selfie camera that requires you to not reorient your phone, and it's going to detect who's in the frame and decide how it wants to frame that, and then it can auto center you when you're doing a FaceTime. And like this is basically their center stage camera Mark II, where they've really kind of thought it through and tried to get the quality up and tried to use their face detection. The idea that in the future you'll be able to take selfies, I mean, starting today, but as these phones roll out, that the reflexive sort of selfie taking behavior will change around the world because your phone is now smart enough to know what you're trying to do when you hold your phone out to take a selfie and do the right thing. I mean,
I played with it a little bit the day we got it. We went out to eat afterward, and I played with it a little bit with the waiter in the background. And it puts squares on all the faces it can see, and will automatically adjust given the faces that are visible. I guess that's the Apple Intelligence at work.
Yeah, it's image processing stuff that they've been doing for a long time.
Yeah,
and it's smart. I mean, we'll see how people. The challenge is going to be how are people going to change their behavior with selfies. But if people learn the functionality of this thing, I think the idea is that it could be a real improvement for people, and I think that's pretty cool. I'll also say it's an example of Apple being extra in a delightful way, where like they didn't need to do this. I mean, they didn't need to say, let's reinvent the entire, everybody just accepts that selfies are taken in a certain way. There's a sensor. You have to, if you want a landscape, you got to turn it sideways. Like everybody knows how you take a selfie. And somebody at Apple was like, we could do better. And they didn't have to do this, but I love that they did it. I love that they did the hardware. And again, it's that Apple thing, right? Where they did the hardware and their machine learning software and kind of laid it all in together. And I mean, in the grand scheme of things, when we think about the stuff that they've done recently, like camera control button and all of that, this feels like it's got way more opportunity to be a huge actual adopted thing than some of the other esoteric hardware that they've done.
We've talked about that before, but the best thing that any company can add to a phone is to make people who don't own that phone think, why doesn't my phone do that? And that is such a simple key thing that, wait a minute, you don't have to, no, I don't, it's if it needs to be portrait, it'll be upright. If it'll be upright, if it needs to be horizontal, it'll be horizontal. I don't know how it works, but it works. And wow, why doesn't my phone do that?
And you have, again, the primary users of this, I think, are the sub 18 version, users of it, that where all of these tools become. I mean, it's amazing to watch one of my kids pick up the phone, and what they know how to do with an iPhone is pretty dramatic. Like they just very quickly, those things become something that was special, and then it becomes something that is just what everybody's doing. So,
well, they also, that's the cool thing about kids. They share it. They share the information.
Yeah.
I always thought that was genius of Snapchat to have a completely impenetrable UI, because they knew that teenagers would then say, hey, did you know you could do this? And they would be, in effect, advocating, they'd be evangelizing Snapchat because it was so hard to use. They'd say, I figured it out. Look, I thought that was a genius idea. Let's pause and come back with lots more to talk about. You're watching MacBreak Weekly, the return of Jason Snell, the imprisonment of Andy Ihnatko, and the cinematic and soon-to-be fully immersive Alex Lindsay. Our show today brought to you by ThreatLocker. Love ThreatLocker. And you're going to love ThreatLocker too when they're protecting your business. Ransomware is rampant. Did you see now Jaguar has suspended production? They had for 3 weeks. The lines were shut down because they weren't protecting themselves and they got bit by ransomware. This is a story we're hearing time and time again. It happens in a variety of ways: phishing emails, infected downloads, malicious websites, RDP exploits. The problem is, as Steve Gibson has said on Security Now, you have to be perfect, and hackers only have to be successful once. You don't want to be the next victim. ThreatLocker's Zero Trust platform takes a proactive, here's the key words, 3 of them, deny by default approach that blocks every unauthorized action, protecting every, I got to say that again, every unauthorized action. So even if your employees click on that bad link, doesn't matter, because ThreatLocker won't let it go any farther. It protects you from both known and unknown threats no one's seen before, 0 days. That's why it's trusted by companies that can't afford a moment of downtime. Companies like JetBlue and the Port of Vancouver, they use ThreatLocker. ThreatLocker shields them and you from 0-day exploits and supply chain attacks while providing complete audit trails for compliance. It all comes down to ThreatLocker's innovative ring fencing technology, which isolates critical applications from weaponization. It stops ransomware in its tracks. It limits, this is super important, lateral movement within your network. So even if the bad guys penetrate your defenses, and you know what? It's almost impossible to stop them nowadays. They can't do anything with that. ThreatLocker works across all industries. It supports Windows and Mac environments. You're going to get great 24/7 US-based support, and it enables comprehensive visibility and control, which is really great for compliance. Mark Tolson, he's the IT director for another target for ransomware, a city government, the city of Champaign, Illinois, to be specific. Here's what Mark thinks of ThreatLocker. Quote, ThreatLocker provides that extra key to block anomalies that nothing else can do. If bad actors got in and tried to execute something, I take comfort in knowing that ThreatLocker will stop that. Will stop that, end quote. Stop worrying about cyber threats. Get unprecedented protection quickly, easily, and cost-effectively with ThreatLocker. Visit threatlocker.com/twit. Get a free 30-day trial and learn more about how ThreatLocker can help mitigate unknown threats and ensure compliance. That's threatlocker.com/twit. Thank them so much for supporting MacBreak Weekly with the good work that they do. Let's see. Is it too early to do the Vision Pro segment? I think we almost inched into it anyway. Let's do the Vision.
Never
too early from the premier Vision Pro podcast.
That's right. Number 1.
What do you see? What do you know? It's time to talk the Vision Pro.
New immersive environments. I see it on sixcolors.com. A set of
immersive films, not environments.
Films. Apple announces a new set of
Apple's
film
fall.
releases.
This is like their fall lineup of what immersive content they've got coming, including a half-hour film. That this is we mentioned this when they announced it in June. It's this film that they made, that Canal Plus in France made with MotoGP, and it's a little 30-minute doc about a French motorcycle racer named Johan Zarco, who was competing in Le Mans, trying to be the first Frenchman to win in this class in Le Mans in like 70 years. He does. It reminded me of that bull riding thing that Apple did, where it's like you learn about the bull rider and you learn about his family and his likes and his loves, and then in 1 second he's thrown off the bull, and that's the end of the movie. And you're like, what?
We picked the wrong guy.
So this one, it's fast motorcycles zipping past you, and it was also the first project shot, they say, with the Blackmagic cameras that Alex is so excited about. So and there are several of them. So one of the things I noticed in watching it was it felt like a lot of the Apple stuff, especially early on, it was like, we got the one camera and we'll put it here and then we'll put it over there. And this MotoGP thing felt like they had 2 or 3 at least, so that you could get like different coverage of the same perspective or the same moment from a different perspective. Very interesting. So that came out yesterday, and then they also announced a bunch of stuff that's forthcoming. But I thought it was pretty impressive, although there is a moment in it, Alex, I don't know if you watched it. I liked it. There is a moment where they're trying to do they do some camera movements, but they just do the slow push through because they don't want to make people sick. And there's one shot where somebody bumps the camera, and I'm like, whoa! And I can't believe they put that shot in there, because it's like the moment where it bumps, and I felt like I was going to fall out of my chair.
It's a funny thing, and sometimes you leave that in there to remind people that they're in the headset. Like, so you're like, hey, this does actually matter. And so we've done that in the past. My brother would do this thing. We were doing this test with a Steadicam, not with a Vision, with an older 360, and he would just turn it a little bit at the very end, and we would turn it. We would always guess how long it was going to take before someone took the headset off. But I think sometimes you want to remind people that they're in a headset, and that sometimes that feeling is there. It may have been I don't think they did it on purpose, but I think that they left it in because they saw that, someone will feel something when it gets hit. It's kind of a kinetic experience, and so I think that might be why it got left in. But yeah, you play with that a lot. It's a very interesting thing to have a medium that actually has your body react to it, not like emotionally, but like physically. Your body will do something if it goes a certain direction.
So what did you think of the piece?
I thought it
was entirely with the Blackmagic cameras now.
Yeah, I don't know if it was entirely with the Blackmagic cameras, but it definitely, I thought, there's this mixture right now, because there isn't a lot of them around, where people are using a little bit of Red, a little bit of Canon, a little bit of Blackmagic. I'm not sure if it was 100% Blackmagic, but I will say that the Blackmagic pipeline just makes everything so much easier. We are going to see a lot more content, just because everything else has been an art project, and the Blackmagic stuff is pretty straightforward as far as shooting. It's so much fun to shoot, because before it's always been like, oh my gosh, I got to figure all this stuff out. Now, especially with a I know this will sound crazy, with a battery, on the back of the camera, you set down and you're running minutes after you set the camera down. You got to make sure it's level. And then after that, you're shooting. It's pretty amazing. So I think we're going to see a lot more. I think a lot of these, I don't know if a lot of them, probably given their release dates, may have come before the Blackmagic was available to shoot all of it that way. Yeah. But I think that you're going to see more and more coming out now that the camera is rolling out.
So this is according to Petapixel, among the first shot releases of first shot on the Blackmagic.
And we know that I think that they had them as early as May or June. I think
they would have them before anybody, of course. Yeah.
So the rest of this, though, I think is interesting, because I like that Apple did this, and they announced, because so much of our criticism is they don't do enough of this stuff. But I will say the dam has not burst open. Apple announced this movie that was released yesterday. In October, they announced a rainforest documentary that's based on something that I think was at least partially available on MetaQuest. and another episode of their Elevated series, which is basically like helicopter views. That's October. They announced 3 things for fall, whatever fall means. We're in it now. It could be any time in the next 3 months, and that's Night of the BBC Proms, where you're going to be able to be real up close to somebody playing the piano on stage, which I think is going to be pretty cool. Experience Paris, which is like a Paris overview, and this thing that's a K-pop band thing that's like, okay, cool, all right. And then December, they have a new show that's The World of Red Bull, which is not about people drinking Red Bull. It's about extreme sports, but okay, whatever, about backcountry skiing. That's it for this year. And then they announced a couple other things, a nature documentary and another Red Bull episode for 2026. And that was what struck me about this, beyond the fact that the 30-minute long MotoGP thing was pretty cool, is all Apple could announce for the rest of calendar 25 is, what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 things. So like that's 2 a month basically.
Yeah. And I think that they're hoping that, you're going to see more stuff coming out with more people getting the cameras. There's not a ton of cameras out there right now, but that production process is going to start picking up speed.
There's no,
we're hoping
how
to
would
shoot
you,
some
if you
stuff with
shot it as an independent and Apple's not releasing it, how would you get it on the Vision Pro? Are there ways to do that, or do you have to?
Well, you'd have to go through the app. You would go through the video store to release it on a major one. But then there's Prima, there's Front Row, there's a couple other companies that are all coming up to speed. Some of them are nascent.
So you'd have to find a distributor.
Yeah. I mean, right now I'm having trouble just figuring out where to put stuff, to just as little examples. Like I don't want to put it out on a platform. So you can't
put it on YouTube. I mean, you have that Immersive channel.
No, yeah. And we did a live stream with 2 other people shooting with Immersive last night. So we did so on OH.
And what
Global
software do they use for that?
We didn't do it immersively. We just talked we did it on YouTube talking about immersive production. But, so one of them, Brenton Henry is actually, is the founder of Front Row. So he's got one of the apps that's going out, to make this possible. But then there's the Prima app, and then there's other ones, and everyone's trying to kind of figure out, that process. We're still very, very early on where it's not comfortable to do it. I do think that Apple, the lowest hanging fruit, and why a lot of us are all shooting music, is because we feel like music production is something that it's a low hanging fruit of something that'd be great. You kind of feel like you're in the audience and everything else. I think if Apple just built a stage, or somebody built a stage and just shot something every week, people would pay for that. Like I know I would pay a subscription just to see any band like once a week in the headset. And there's no reason why you couldn't produce a lot of content. But even now, one of the problems that we have is that I think one of the reasons some of this is coming out a little bit longer is that the headset isn't the 8K per eye, 90 frames a second pushes the headset pretty hard. And so a lot of the stuff we're producing right now isn't right at that resolution. So we're trying to...
Petapixel says, Canal Plus shot the event. Canal Plus. I got to get it right. I corrected you the first time and I was wrong. Canal Plus shot the event using 4 Ursa Cine immersive cameras and used ambisonic microphones.
See, 4. I said it was 4. More than 1.
Yeah.
And
to
the ambisonic,
enable the Apple spatial audio. You've talked about those ambisonic microphones.
It's almost everyone's using the Voyage. Yeah. So this Voyage is either the Dante or the USB.
And then the team reviewed their footage instantly at the racetrack using mobile Mac workstations and presumably DaVinci Resolve, right?
Yes. Yeah. The workflow for that is actually it's really pretty easy. So the camera's networkable, so you can put it on a network on an Ethernet. And if you have it on a 10 gig backplane, it will pull off pretty quickly. And what you do a lot of times when you're testing it, you're not trying to shoot the whole shot. You don't look at the whole shot. You're like, is my camera in the right position? And you'll shoot 10 seconds or 15 seconds. You'll pull that off real quickly, drop it into Resolve. Technically, you can look at it in Resolve, although it's a little bit quirky. But a lot of times what I end up doing is just rendering it out and putting in Apple Immersive Video Utility. It's like a little app that you can download from the App Store. And it immediately just lets you throw a pre-rendered version into your headset and watch it there. And it's super easy. I mean, I know it sounds like a bunch of steps, but if I take a 20-second test clip, I'm watching it less than 5 minutes from the time I shot it.
That's pretty good.
So it's a pretty easy way to review it right now.
Compared to when you first started doing HD video production, and it took weeks.
It was months. Like we couldn't get it to work, and it was so like trying to get all the compositing and everything else working. It was just brutal. So
early MacBreak episodes, ladies and gentlemen, going back in time.
I had to the road to 1080p was a video that I did scribbling on top of pictures because Leo was like, "You got to release something," and it had been a month, and I was just like, "Oh my gosh, I can't quite figure out how to process all of this." And so anyway, so it is now. I do have when I say it's quick and easy, I did end up with an Ultra, an M3 Ultra to do it. Like it's not like I'm doing it on a Mac Mini, and it uses up all of the computer. Like when you turn it on, it's like you look at the little network, the utility, and it's using everything it can grab onto.
We have the Rode 1080p. I'm sure you can see it on YouTube, but we also have it on the TWiT website.
Yeah.
From, get ready for this, February 16th, 2006.
So we had shot in January, the first week of January, we had shot at MacBreak, and we had released episode 1 was Leo and Emery Wells and Amber Mac.
Yeah,
Amber Mac.
Amber MacArthur. Yeah,
and so the we had gone out and shot. The four of us had shot a coverage of Macworld, and then we went into a studio right the next day, I think, and shot all day and shot like 20 episodes in front of green screen. It was Sal Seguin and all these other people. And then the compositing, I had made some, I'd done some crazy things. And so the compositing was brutal. And but it was a month later and Leo was like, you got to release something. You just got to put something out. And I was like, okay.
You know what I'm proud of? We still use the same damn music.
That was, it's.
Look at Alex. You look so young there. And there's Emery Wells, who's now a billionaire.
Was that the green screen studio that was like a Potrero Hill or something? I remember we went there and we did some stuff with you, like Macworld people did.
When we did it with you, I think we actually did it maybe we did it there the second year. The first year we did it in our office, I think, when we did the awards. And I had so much black hair.
Look at you.
Yeah, we all did back then.
Look at you. Yeah, exactly. Not me. I was great. Even then. And Emery, of course, now is a unicorn, so he has we don't care what color his hair is. Is he doing robots now?
Wow. Now.
He sold his company to Adobe and
stayed there for 2 years, and then
Frame.io.
Now he's on robots.
Yeah. And Amber is still in Canada. Lucky girl. Jeez. Wow, that's fun. Look at this. When there used to be a Macworld Expo.
Good times.
Yeah,
is this Brent By on the camera? Who's this shaky cam? Man, sit still, Brent.
Was
he trying to do MTV?
No, I think he was just trying to make it less. He was just
Roger Chang holding the reflector.
He's just making it. We were making a little more active camera, which we liked at the time.
At the time, it was hip. It was with
it just felt more online. The problem is when you like freeze it gets boring. So
they all ran off. We don't know what's going on because I don't have the sound up. It's better without it, to be honest.
I think we were going to go cover. The event, and so we were saying we're going to go find some stuff, and then it was like one little clip after.
I'm all alone.
And then you walked in.
Oh yeah,
the one
Brent
shot.
Followed me.
The shot right there, by the way, was really hard. What Brent did there was there was no one controlling it.
What's he?
No. He's just handheld, and but the crazy thing is he had to change all his aperture and do all the stuff while he's walking and everything else, and
he's good.
He's very good.
Very good. Now in Hollywood.
I still work with him. I was just working with him a couple weeks ago.
Oh, nice. Give him my regards.
Yeah, he's great. He's one of my ringers. I'm like, I know things will be okay because Brent's there.
This poor woman, I'm harassing her while she's pretending to run. Well, she's not pretending. She's actually running on a treadmill, showing off the new iPod and how you can strap it to your arm. This is when Macworld Expo basically became an iPod accessory show. Look at all that. Right. Look at all the accessories before the phone came out. It's all about accessories.
I think it had its own pavilion at one point, didn't it?
Yeah. Well, they did. At first, they put it out in a pavilion, and then pretty much it just metastasized. Oh, look, here's some flight attendants. I don't know. Maybe I was a little bit too interested in the young women and the manning the booths. I don't know.
Well, there was a lot of them back then.
It was a very, very different time. Look at this. Wow.
Aces.
Kate, I think this is what killed Macworld Expos. It became basically an accessory show. It wasn't. It just.
Well, I think Apple stopped. Not
Yeah,
Apple.
Apple not going.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, he's got an iPod Shuffle hanging around his neck. Oh, don't break it, Leo. That's the Nano, not the Shuffle, right? The names are lost in infamy.
Mini or Nano.
Mini or Nano. Yeah.
A different age.
Wow. I'm sorry. I keep watching. We're in the Vision Pro segment. We're not in the iPod Nano segment. I'm actually, this one in Antarctica looks kind of cool. I'm not really an extreme sports fan, and I'm especially not excited about extreme sports and immersive because it seems that's going to be sick making. But I like the idea of going to see penguins. Petapixel says it's with the CNN climate guy.
Yes. Yeah,
and
that's what it is.
He goes down in search of emperor penguins. Bill Weir.
I mean, I think that the challenge really is that you got to find things that you can produce lots of content. And right now, there's so much work being done on each piece of content that it becomes challenging to, but I think that they're also figuring this stuff out. We're just going to keep on seeing it pick up pace.
Well, look what happened with MacBreak Weekly. Yeah, right? Yeah. First, it took you months. Now we basically do it in an hour or two or three. Yeah. Most of the time spent just sitting around gassing. Apple was apparently at the iPhone 17 launch with some Ursas at the LA store. Apple's filming the iPhone 17 launch in immersive spatial video.
And this is the big difference that this camera makes is that you can just go, oh, let's go shoot something at the store. Who knows if we're going to use it or not? Yeah. But it's no longer an art project. It's no longer we got to take 10 people. Like I can literally pull it out of the case and have it recording solid content in less than 5 minutes. And that's the thing is that, and so I think you're going to see Apple using it more often that way. You're going to see other people using it. I went and shot my daughter's band playing, for a little bit of it because it wasn't this huge lift. And that's the thing that's making a difference.
Well, and if you ask yourself, where might they put it? One of the things that's in VisionOS 26 is Safari and VisionOS 26 supports all sorts of immersive HTML extensions, essentially. And so you can put immersive, 3D and immersive video and 3D video. And, there are lots of spatial options that are in 26. So I would not be surprised if what you see is portions of Apple's website sort of experiment with. If you go there on a Vision Pro, you can just pop right in to an immersive scene or an immersive clip. And then you won't need to go to the TV app and watch it. They could just do a little clip of the iPhone launch and put it on their website, and then you could kind of tap in and see it there. So there's a bunch of new stuff in 26 to enable web experiences to be more spatial.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's where the immersive, I think in many ways going to take off is as segments, not necessarily trying to take over the whole thing with video, but and I'm going to give you this moment. Like one of the things that we did with golf in 360 was we put cameras on the greens, and the rest of it was all 16:9, but we had split out. The graphics were all on one side of you. There was a clean shot in the center. You could see socials on the right side of you, or I think it was the other way around. And but when someone got to the green, you could hit a button and it would just take you into the space, and then you're there for that moment, and then you go back to to a produced. And we found that was a lot easier than trying to manage doing 360 the whole time. So and I think that Apple is playing with that a little with Bono. I don't know if I was totally sold on that solution, but I think that there is going to be this mixture between, and I think spatial video. I wish the phone did better. I think I was kind of disappointed that we didn't see more from the 17 phone, the camera system, that we weren't getting 4K 60 spatially, which would be a game changer for a lot of folks that have headsets. When you talk about that content coming out, 4K 60 at a high quality out of the phone, a lot of people will just be shooting stuff and sending it back and forth to each other. The 1080p is just a little, it's cool, but a little small, for experience.
Just if you would, for those of our audience members who are engaged in the drinking game, would you just say 8K per eye, please?
Yep.
Okay.
8K per eye.
Thank you.
That's what we want to see all the time. 8K per eye. That's what that's again, and hopefully, if we see with the Vision Pro coming, the next one, a lot of us are hoping M5s will bring us 8K per eye, 120 frames a second. Here's your other drink.
Oh man,
120
that's
frames
2
a second.
shots in a row right there. Yeah. It's a little early for that. And that is your Vision Pro segment for the
Now you
week.
see, now you know, we're done talking the Vision Pro.
From the premier Vision Pro podcast
Yep.
in the world, MacBreak Weekly. Lisa's been begging me to change the name of the show. And I said, 20 years, I'm not changing the name of the show. This is brand recognition. But she's right. We don't just talk about Macs. So I don't know.
I mean, it's you got the brand recognition. I think that's the thing. Macworld, we struggle with that. Obviously, people are like, yeah, why are you writing about the iPod? What is Macworld?
It's like, I mean,
it's been a long time since Apple sold apples. Like, let's just say, it's they moved past that.
If I could think of a better name, I guess I'd consider it. But I don't know.
Also, we've reached that rarefied air moment where the title of the show means what the show is. It's like 3M used to be 3M,
not Minnesota Mining and Manufacture anymore.
Right, exactly. Now it just means 3M. Exactly.
Yeah. Or
they sold all the M's.
Or KFC. There's no fried chicken at KFC.
What?
Wait a minute. No, I think there is actually. Anyway, we could call it the premier Vision Pro podcast.
Let's not do that. No.
The brightest star.
I feel that might be hitching our wagon to the wrong hitching post. But
do not.
Anyway.
Do not.
You're watching MacBreak Weekly with Andy Anako, Alex Lindsay, and Jason Snell. We're glad you're here. Very fun article in iFixit. Arthur Shee, apparently his poor wife, had a FineWoven case that she bought secondhand, and he has pictures of it after a year and a half, and it doesn't look good. I like it that they did the little slider thing so you can see.
It looks nasty enough that you start to wonder maybe it's okay for certain animals to die if this doesn't happen.
I feel like something's growing on it. Anyway.
It does sort of feel like that.
We've replaced it with TechWoven. Did Apple send you a TechWoven case, Mr. Snell?
Yes, there is a TechWoven case here.
And
okay. Let me paint you a picture as a veteran journalist. It feels like the material you'd find on a soft-sided suitcase. Right? Rugged.
Yeah.
Textured.
We used to call that ripstop nylon.
Woven.
Yeah.
And so what is it? Does it feel like, it feels more industrial to me than FineWoven, not in a bad way, but more like in a way of we realize that the FineWoven is going to be destroyed and we need to put something on top of it to make it less destroyable. So I would say rugged might be one way. We'll see if it actually is rugged, but I would say it kind of feels rugged. But like if you've ever owned a piece or touched a piece of soft-sided luggage, that's what it reminded me of. It felt like, this is a textile designed to face violence, and we'll see how it responds. But it didn't feel like leather at all. Like leather's in the rear view for Apple, which I think is a little bit bizarre. And it's anybody out there making third-party iPhone cases in leather, love it because they are selling a lot of those. But I think as an option that is a little more smooth than your silicone case that's going to snag on your pocket and stuff like that, it could work. I think I just hesitate to endorse it because FineWoven, we all kind of got the heebie-jeebies, but we were proven right. Like my wife's FineWoven case 4 months in was a disaster, and we got her a leather case that still looks good. And the FineWoven case was a disaster after 4 months. So I think given my parallel of suitcase material, I think that's what they're going for. Is they want it to survive.
Yeah,
I ordered a Nomad Old Dublin Horween leather case. In fact, they had to send me an email saying how to care for my old Dublin leather and warning me that, they all look different and it might have blemishes. But you know what? That's leather for you.
That's leather.
And I apologize to the poor steer whose skin I am now going to be putting on my phone. I apologize. But look, I eat hamburgers too, so I'm not
That's why some of the better retailers, they will actually send you like a card so you can actually see that specific cow's social media postings. You can see, wow, that was a very even for a cow of of that era, that would have been considered inappropriate. So I have no problem with this.
I feel bad, I really do, but there's something about leather. I wear leather shoes too. I'm with you. Like my wallet. Like I bought this like 15 years ago, and I'm not going to be buying another one. Look how that's worn. Isn't that beautiful?
It looks beautiful.
That's a dad wallet right there. Yeah.
Well, it's just it's
polished, finely polished by Andy's buttocks over many years.
I do not butt pocket my wallet. Thank you very much. Front pocket.
Okay, by your hips, your fine hips. Yes.
But the thing, the trade-off with leather is that it is, and I absolutely respect people who want cruelty-free products. But my thinking is that, well, I'm buying this. I buy leather belts because they last for 10 or 15 or 20 years. I'm not like buying another one like every 2 or 3 years. I think it's kind of okay. But aren't we kind of surprised that Apple went back to that well of FineWoven, given how bad an experience they had, like their first attempt to do something that was a leather substitute. The iFixit article it's more lighthearted than scholarly, which is how they do most of their teardowns, but it still has valuable information. Like there seems to be like a coating on the top of it that does a good job of resisting stains, of resisting resisting liquid ingress. And they're saying, oh, actually we can clean it. We put sushi on it. We drop like sauce on it, but we're able to like clean it up with isopropyl alcohol. It will look great. But then they say, well, what if we put like a scratch on it? And then once that surface coating is compromised, now it becomes like absorbent. It like will pull like the liquid into the weave, and you're not coming back from that.
Well, and that's
where it gets rash. It looks like it's got a skin condition.
Good on Arthur Shee at iFixit for really putting the FineWoven. He has microscope photos, and there's some sushi and wasabi on the FineWoven case. I'm sorry, TechWoven case, and it's apparently the coating is pretty good. He put coffee on it and was able to clean it off. He said the coffee smell's still there, but the case is as good as new. So if you are looking for a durable non-leather case, I guess, it does kind of look like luggage. Fine. Briggs and Riley luggage, but okay.
Yeah.
I like Arthur's test module. He really put it through the paces here, and it came out pretty well, I think. There are some marks on it after the jerry rig style cutting. The coating is only surface layer. So once the ingress coating is breached, liquids do soak in. And so do not take your X-Acto knife to it before you dip it in coffee, I guess, is the advice. And the inside is not coated, interestingly, just the outside. All right. Probably Apple's cases are at a premium, but Apple really, I think the whole point for Apple is that when you're in the store buying the phone, you're going to buy a case.
That's it.
It's easy. It's like money literally on the table. They don't want to just simply leave it on the table.
Yeah.
So everyone's like, gee, I'm already like $1,000 into this. May as well round it up to $1,100, like $1,022. Okay, give me a woven case on top of that.
I don't take the screen protector off until I have the screen protector I'm going to put on it.
Right.
I pull it off and just immediately put something on it. I put it in a case, but the phones, for me, when they arrive in the mail, they sit on my desk until I have the case. I'm not, because I've done a couple where I was like, oh, I'll just walk around with it for 2 days and nick it. And then you're just like, I can't believe I did that. I could have just waited 2 more days.
Good on a swear.
Yeah.
Micah Sargent's review will appear on Hands on Tech of both the iPhone, and he got the crossbody strap. So did you get a crossbody strap, Jason?
I think I got 2 of them.
They went all out. Wow.
Yeah,
are you carrying
I haven't unboxed that yet, but I do have this vision of going out with just 2 iPhones on crossbody straps, just dangling down. Just dual wield, as they say.
Dual wield. Draw, partner.
Yep.
Yeah. I wonder though, do you take the left phone with your right hand and the right phone with your left hand, like
it's a good question,
at Eastwood, or are you more like a
really great question, Leo?
Yeah. Well, we'll find out in the extended version of the 6colors.com review coming soon. to a browser
but
near
not that
you.
soon.
Apparently, the iPhone 17, according to Reuters, is for sale in Moscow. And pre-orders jump. So
it's really interesting when you travel around to countries where the iPhone is not sold directly, how much people are willing to pay for the iPhone. Like a lot of folks will pay 50 to 100% more than what we pay. And people are buying them 10 at a time or whatever in the United States, and then hoping that no one bothers or figures out a way to get them into the country. And they make it, but that's why it costs so much more, is they're figuring out how to get them there.
I would think that a lot of these phones are coming from China too, because China doesn't really care about those being imported to Moscow. And we know from, that great Apple in China book details how there are these people who just roll up to the Apple store and say, give me 100.
Yeah.
And, and they've got cash, and there will be trouble if you don't give them 100. And that's just how it works. And that's the creation of the gray market. So I would imagine that's happening maybe in parts of Europe, but I would be surprised if it isn't primarily happening in China and they're taking those phones and then reselling them in
Reuters
Russia.
Quotes Ludmila Semoshina. She's PR director for the tech retailer Restore, a reseller. This year, we have 66% more pre-orders than last year. She says, Boris, there is a huge fan base that will never exchange iPhone for anything else.
Yeah, the article is also saying that it's about to Alex's point, it's about a 50% markup. It's
wow.
They're selling like a base iPhone 17 for the equivalent of $1,437 on the online store.
119,990 rubles.
Yeah,
and that's the base model 17. Wow,
and again, it's a status symbol for
exactly. It's a luxury brand, and particularly when it's unobtainium, it's like, oh, we can't. You just like there are people here to like, wow, is that I've never seen that model of Walkman before. Oh yeah, it's only available in Japan. It's a very high end model, solid gold APIs. It's like, oh wow, you must be very special. You must be walking on diamonds, sir. That I am.
I am rich capitalist and I can afford iPhone.
I'm staying far away from Windows though. Would not be smart for me to stay near Windows.
Yes. Our sponsor 1Password has a very nice feature in their 1Password travel mode. If you're worried about your phone being searched on your way to Moscow, travel mode acts as if the data never existed in the first place. That's clever. That's very clever.
Yeah.
It's a plausible deniability. I think they're more worried about the U.S. entering the U.S. than they are about entering Russia, to be honest with you. Wow.
I wonder though if that sort of thing will like will put you aside for second searching.
Gotta think they know about it.
Oh,
right?
Just saying, wow, you have a password manager that doesn't have any passwords stored in it. I smell a big. Well, all I know is I can get 2.5 hours worth of overtime if I take you into the back room. So you're going to the back room.
They can't deny you entry, but they can make it difficult.
Really difficult. Yeah. They can wear you down. So you say, fine, here are my passwords. I just need to get home.
We should say they can't deny entry to U.S. citizens or green card holders. If you have an H-1 visa, they may ask you for $100,000. H-1B visa, they may ask you for $100,000 at the border. Tap to Pay is coming to more European countries. This is nice. I love Tap to Pay. I love it with a watch. This is actually where you could go phone to phone Tap to Pay. And as Alex noted, it's very popular in the farmers markets here in the U.S. Now you can do it in Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Monaco, and Norway. So good news. And because of European regulations, it accepts American Express, Visa, MasterCard, and in Norway works with Surfboard. So I didn't know there was a lot of surfing in Norway.
Well, a lot of glaciers are melting now, so.
Oh yeah, it's gotten easier.
Once you get the alert that a big sheaf of ice just broken off is causing a good curl off of Oslo. So don't surf.
Did anybody experience the camera glitch? I mean, it came and went. Apparently, if you aim at LED lights, a CNN host discovered it when taking photos at a concert. And here's the picture. You got to where the LED light is, you get a black blob. But Apple acknowledged it right away and said that they pushed out an update. I haven't seen it ever. Actually, they haven't pushed out the update. So I'm not sure when that'll come out. We haven't got an update yet, have we? I did. As soon as I got my iPhone out of the box, I had to update it, but I don't know if that was what that was for.
Yeah, supposedly there are a couple of like first day problems, including that. Also some Wi-Fi problems that are being addressed in a 0.01 update that's coming out very, very shortly.
Yeah, I have 26.0, but maybe I'll tell you it's 23A345, and it did have an update the minute I took it out of the box. So
yeah, I
don't know what that means.
Also,
I have not taken pictures of LED lights at concerts.
Yeah, that's kind of the definition of an edge case scenario. I mean, it's a problem, they need to fix it, but it's not the sort of thing maybe they're going to add something to the test suite from now on.
Apple said it happens in very rare cases when an LED light display is extremely bright and shining directly into the camera. And they do have a fix, which is for the camera to close its eyes at concerts. Don't look at the light. What else? Did you see the pictures from Engadget inside the Apple Audio Lab? Apple loves giving these tours. Look at this. This is where they test the Fantasia Lab. Their audio. Aren't you sad, Jason? You didn't get to go see the Fantasia Lab?
Sure.
Yeah.
But you didn't get to go to the audio lab and see the stereo that Steve Jobs gave to the lab because for their work.
Is it really? It's a Steve Jobs X.
Yeah,
he said, now that I have the iPod Hi-Fi, I don't need my high-end stereo.
I didn't even think about that.
So I'm giving it to the lab, man.
Yeah, both a couple of different sites like got the audio tour, and they both the audio anechoic chamber tour, and they both started with as you enter, you see a vintage hi-fi that was donated to the lab by Steve Jobs personally as a token of gratitude. It's like,
who had that picture? Because Engadget, Billy Steele did not capture that one. I wish he had. That would be very cool. The studios are all named after famous recording studios. So there's an Abbey Road studio. There's an Abbey Road studio. I don't know what the other ones are called, but Billy says they all have names after famous recording studios. Okay, fine. I don't know. It's kind of fun. Field trip.
It's not. It's nice. I mean, you
get to ride around in a golf cart.
Exactly. Well, it's a 50-50 thing of, okay, well, it's an experience that not a whole people get to experience. It's nice to convey exactly how things are tested. It is marketing-ish. I mean, it is the sort of thing where if you basically publish this on Apple's own website, you wouldn't notice any real difference in the tone of it. But nonetheless, it's fun, and it's an interesting thing to share to consumers. And
here's Lance Ulanoff's pictures from Tech Radar of a bunch of nerds playing around in the anechoic chamber. Victoria Song from The Verge, who was on TWiT a couple of weeks ago and was at the event, said there were a lot of influencers taking selfies or doing videos on the stairwell. She said there was one influencer who was dancing to a tune only heard in her head, the tune that she knew she would lay in later to her video as she went down the stairs. She said it made it for a little bit of a traffic jam. This is why. I mean, this is Apple's vision for this event, right? Sure.
Lots of influencers who are passing on whatever marketing Apple wants them to pass on. That's just part of what it is. It can be effective marketing, I think. I haven't been in an Apple anechoic chamber since AntennaGate.
Oh, wow. You didn't even go for the HomePods? You didn't get invited in?
To the HomePods? I don't think I got an anechoic visit, but I did for AntennaGate. They and that was very much on the we do testing of things. And this is, I mean, look, this is effective marketing in the sense that it's showing your work a little bit and saying, don't just accept that what Apple does is easy. It's actually extremely hard, and we spend a lot of money on a lot of this stuff. That's the message they're trying to get across.
And it is hard to, I mean, I haven't worked on any of the Apple stuff, but I've worked on other things that are like product development. And I don't think anybody has any idea what a commercial product from one of these large companies, the amount of work that it takes, that they go through to make it work. When it doesn't work perfectly and you think, oh, that no one thought of that. Yeah, they did. They thought about it. They worked on it. They just didn't quite get to the end. And so I think every once in a while showing people what those tools look like is useful.
Here is Lance's picture of the Steve Jobs Martin Logan Monolith 3 speakers that he donated.
Yeah, those are the speakers that he got rid of when he just used the iPod Hi-Fi instead.
So much better. Who needs 6-foot tall speakers?
I think that those are the same speakers that are in that famous picture of him at that mansion that he tore down, or like where we had
sitting on the floor.
Stood on the floor with that one Tiffany lamp and these two like big Stonehenge style speakers on the side.
Yeah, the Monolith 3 speakers. Wow.
You don't need them. Just get an iPod Hi-Fi. That's what he said.
You think Steve instantly regretted donating these? It's like, I want my Martin Logans back.
Now I got to buy a second house where I have nothing, no stereos in it, so that I bring people over. Yeah.
Here's one from Cine. I went to Apple's labs to see how Apple Watch connectivity is tested. So it's not just sound anymore. Vanessa Oriana.
Well, that's what the anechoic chambers were always for, is for wireless testing.
Oh, they're not for sound. Oh, it's a radio anechoic chamber, not an audio anechoic chamber.
Yeah, that's what they were using for antenna gate and all of that, right? That's
why you got invited,
because they do lots and lots and lots of radio testing.
Yes, yeah.
Well, if you've ever been in one, you walk into it and it's like somebody stuffed cotton in your ears, because you don't realize how. We don't think of ourselves, we're not like, bats who use radar and stuff. But the fact we use echoes and reflections as part of it's like a spatial sense that our brain uses. And then you step into that chamber and it's gone. And it's real weird.
What does happen after these Apple events is that the people on the nice list, as Andy puts it, get interviews with Apple executives. Mm-hmm. I note that none of us got those interviews.
And I should say, I don't mean that as a disparagement. I'm saying it's because whether you're on the naughty list or the nice list has nothing to do with your own performance. It has what to do with like what Apple has chosen for this particular event.
Well, so it's fully their prerogative to do that.
Also, exactly. I would say the naughty list and the nice list implies there isn't another. There aren't people who aren't on either list, but that's the vast majority of people are just not on it. There are the people who are like, we're not helping you, and there are the people who get the invitations, and then there's the vast bulk of us who don't get either.
Neither.
I refuse to be on the naughty list. I'm not on the naughty list. I'm just not on the nice list.
I think I might have been on the naughty list at one point.
Yeah.
Do you know anything that you want to share with me?
No.
Renee Ritchie once said, I know, but I can't tell you. Which makes me think I might be on a naughty list.
Could be.
Which is fine with me. It's actually a point of pride, I think. I want to be on the naughty list. It's a little bit of a slow week. Let's take a little break. You're watching MacBreak Weekly. Andy Anako, Alex Lindsay, Jason Snell. So they sent you a crossbody strap too. Wow. 2 of them.
2 of them.
Wow.
One for each phone. Well, no, they sent me 3 phones. One for, I don't know.
Do you have
I don't know.
Here's a question. Everybody wants to know. Is there a special case you need to use the crossbody strap?
You have to use a case. The crossbody strap at the ends has little fine threads. Loops that you basically have to run around and then thread through in order to anchor it.
So any case would work?
Apple's cases have that, but any case that has those, and I imagine there will be some, would use it. But you can't just a random case.
It has to have some eyelet.
No, yeah, it's gotta have that.
So the holes in the bottom of this case for the speaker, that doesn't count. That wouldn't do it.
No, because they're not reinforced and it might pull
yeah.
out and break your phone and your case and everything.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So you got to get a case that's compatible. But
and Apple and the case
are all the Apple cases compatible or no?
I think so.
Okay.
Can you put those two straps together and like have it dangling by your knee? if you were to so choose?
I don't know.
Okay, I look forward to that.
That's how the president.
Interesting
would wear it,
idea.
Right? The extra long.
Well, the problem I see with this is when you do the crossbody strap, you're kind of committing to it as a lifestyle, which it is, and that's fine. But like Micah was showing this actually, he was like, "Oh, look at this!" And when you take the crossbody strap off, but you've still got the case still has the little stuff you thread through the corners, and so it's like your phone has two little little legs dangling. It's ugly, I think, and so really I feel like when you set it up for the crossbody strap, then your phone is either in the case or it's not in the case, because when you disconnect the big part of the strap from those little loops, it is dumb. So you're kind of all in or all out with the crossbody strap.
I guess I know I've been probably making fun of this for the past couple of weeks, but there have been times when like I'm at an event or having fun someplace, and because I already have a crossbody strap for like my nice camera, sometimes I will take that strap and I will attach it to a really, really good like metal cage style like case for my phone so that you can't escape it. Because when you're at like when you're at a fair, when you're at like a chowder fest or something like that, where you're constantly like, you want to pick up your phone, take a picture, and then free up your hands so you can have more chowder. It's kind of nice to be able to let go of the phone and know that, okay, it's still going to be like there for me the next time I need it. So as much as I make fun of it, I do understand the concept.
Yeah, the danger there is you get used to doing that, and then it's not in the case, and you go bloop, and gravity appears. So
I have never, ever done that. Not even once. Not with my $2,000 camera.
Not with your
camera.
Once,
I am Andy, flying out to Providence. I'm flying to Logan first and then driving to Providence on Thursday. And I hope the Chowder Fest is this weekend. I'm looking forward to, actually, I'm going to go to the Dune Brothers shack.
Oh, nice.
And get my mom a lobster roll and myself some clam cakes.
There you go.
And I think they have very good fish chowder there, as I remember. It was quite good, quite rich.
So if you're looking for a fish or a seafood item, like in any place in New England, we could probably help you with that. We can lay your hands on a clam for you. No worries.
There's something like I think I was dropped on my head because as a child because I love clam cakes, but if you think about it, they're just fried dough with pieces of clam embedded in them.
It's a clam donut. It's a clam beignet. It's wonderful.
They are wonderful. Well, they're wonderful fresh from the fryer. They don't keep all that well.
Not. Which is why when you order the 6, you just got to shunk them all down.
Eat them all at once. Eat them all at once. Benchmarks are starting to come out. Is it just so Lisa and I are looking at our phones last night, and I said, I feel like it's faster. She said, yeah, me too. Now, is that just the new phone effect, or is it?
Yeah. You probably can't detect the 10% increase in the CPU core speed, but you get the snappy. Right, just because everything is kind of cleaned up and all that.
But maybe it's brand new. Yeah, it's brand new. It's snappy. WCCF Tech has some benchmarks, and it benchmarks pretty well. But benchmarks don't tell the story of real use.
Yeah. Most of the benchmark pieces I've read have basically said that the CPU increases are okay, but it's the GPU increases that they're at least in graphing and testing looks really, really phenomenal.
I was a little surprised at the event. Apple did not bring any, gaming companies on stage as they have in the past to tout the gaming performance. I guess they just didn't want.
I don't think that they really cracked the code on anything that's changed. I think that there's a lot of people
really
playing
want
casual
it to
games.
be like a gaming platform? Well, they do have that new app.
What they want to do is boast about how their chip has improved, and they use that boast time for AI stuff this time more than anything else. They mention gaming in passing, and they're like, "Oh, and great for gaming and good for gaming," and they do that and they show stuff. But I think drilling down is not something that they've wanted to do the last couple of years because they wanted to talk about GPU performance for AI or CPU performance for AI instead.
Yeah.
Oh, I missed Chowder Fest. It was last week. Oh, Lou, at the India Point Park.
It's wicked sad.
It's wicked sad.
The thing is, you got to pick a good one, because some of the chowder fests are for people who are actually interested in chowder. The other ones are just for people like, honey, I'm sick of looking at you. I have nothing more to say this weekend. Why don't we have an event or someplace to go so that we can talk about something other than how poorly this relationship is working out? And those are the ones you kind of get stuck in, because there's the people with the strollers, and they'll take up a table and they're getting you away when you're just trying to make your tour of 31 different chowders for your $20.
I do love a chowder. I love a good chowder. Okay, so my theory, which I told Lisa last night, maybe is BS, is they feel faster because of the aluminum unibody and the new vapor cooling system.
Yeah.
The processor, even though it's maybe only 10% faster, is not gated as much as the old titanium 16 was.
Better thermals. Anybody who's focused on the computer side will know this same story, right? Which is a fanless computer will not run as well at stress points as a fanned computer, a computer with a fan, because it will not throttle. And this new iPhone Pro design is designed to reduce the times that they need to throttle. And the Air, I will tell you, it gets hot real easy. And so it's going to, even though it's got a Pro chip, it's going to throttle in a way that the Pro is not.
Yeah,
I do remember on my 16 Pro Max, when I was using that new Adobe Pi camera, I could only take 3 or 4 photos before the camera itself would say, I can't go on. It's too hot in here.
Yeah. And that is something that a lot of these
with this.
That is something a lot of these the performance reviews are saying good things about, how sustained performance on the Pro is pretty respectable. So
good.
It's not exactly to say it's not just about, okay, well, it ran this test suite and here's the numbers you got from the test suite. You want to look for how many pictures in a row can I take before the shutter starts to slow down. How much video can I take before it says, yeah, why don't you just drop me in I am IP68 resistance. How about a bucket of ice? Just drop me in a bucket of ice for a good 8 minutes, and then maybe I can shoot some more video for you.
Indigo is not yet supported on this device. Currently so thank you, Adobe. They haven't updated Project Indigo for the 17.
Crushed.
Coming soon.
How could they do that to us?
Coming soon. So I will let you know if it overheats. But in theory, it should do better, right? Here's some graphs.
I just rarely feel like my phone is ever slowing down.
Yeah,
I feel like it gets hot. The 16 would get hot frequently.
Right.
Yeah. And it's true that the thermals of the titanium glass case are not as good as the aluminum unibody.
Yeah. And a lot of it really is hocus pocus. Really, like the first time you use a phone that can sustain like 120 hertz frame refresh rate, it's running just as fast or just as slow as a 60 hertz phone, but it just feels that you're scrolling faster, and with such a graphical interface, basically things open and close and move around so much faster, it just feels like a fast phone. And given that you're not necessarily trying to crunch a 10,000 cell spreadsheet on device, have a device that feels faster can be just as beneficial to the user as something that actually is faster.
I will say something about the A19 that is pretty important, and Steve Gibson spent a long time last Wednesday talking about it. Apple's new memory integrity enforcement on the A19, Steve felt is a game changer. If you listen to Security Now or you follow security news, you know that one of the big issues, one of the reasons many of our devices are insecure is because of memory issues, memory safety, and particularly buffer overflows, writing to areas of memory that you're not supposed to write to, or overrunning an area of memory that you've reserved. And these often give bad guys an access into the phone. It's one of the things that often happens with zero-click attacks on the iPhone. Apple took ARM's existing memory tagging extension and greatly enhanced it. And again, this is a little beyond me, but Steve covered it in great detail. He was very impressed with memory integrity enforcement, so much so he devoted much of the show to it and said it is a game changer. Microsoft and Google said, this is from Privacy Guide, 70% of all security vulnerabilities in their products come from memory safety issues. They're not using memory safe languages. Programmers make mistakes that often leads to vulnerabilities like Heartbleed. Remember this? There have been many, many examples of this. MTE effectively eliminates these. So if you're looking for the most secure phone, this is a massive step forward. All ARM devices have the memory tagging extensions. But again, Steve says what Apple has done goes well beyond that.
And again, this is part of Apple's marketing. You know, like, I mean, and not in a bad way. Just this is part of their business model, is that they're going to keep on every version of the iPhone is going to be more secure than the last version. And
I think it's also a point of pride because Apple, Pegasus.
I don't want to say there's just marketing. I'm saying like it is part of the ethos of that this is one of the things that sets their stuff apart, is going to be continually adding more and more security to the phone and taking more and more ways for themselves to actually get into it. Like the idea is to kind of break off all the branches and just be like, this is your phone, so they haven't been worried about stuff that you have online or in the cloud, but the line that Apple's drawn is continually to make the phone more and more impenetrable.
If you're interested, it is the most recent Security Now show episode 1043, Memory Integrity Enforcement. He does a deep dive on it and why it's such a big deal. He really thinks this is the biggest step forward in computer security, not just phone security, but chip level computer security in history. I mean, this is going to eliminate a huge category of flaws. And this is exactly what Apple wants to do. They don't like it that there are these zero-click attacks that nation states can perpetrate on people who use the iPhone. They hate having to tell you, but they do. Your phone's been hacked by a nation, and you should be aware of that and do something about it. They don't want to do that. So good on Apple. I think that's great.
Yep.
Here we are 2 weeks into the liquid glass era. Apple Insider says liquid glass is causing disorienting optical illusions for some users. I have not seen this. I have seen weirdness and maybe even bugs where, some of the transparencies are not working well, but not so much that I've turned it off yet. Anybody, what do you think? Liquid glass, good, bad, indifferent?
I think it's fine. Now that I'm finally using it on macOS, it's like I'm glad that they're not using it a whole lot more right now. I think that a lot of it is way too. Some things that they've swapped out are kind of subtle. Like now there are times when if I make a change to the brightness of the screen or volume adjustment, now there's a little like liquid glass pill in the corner that actually reflects that change. And I kind of like to have a more reassuring. Given how many times I'm wearing Bluetooth headphones and the Bluetooth headphones will not respond or disconnect, it's nice to have a better indication than that. I don't think we're going to really understand or appreciate it until for the next another 2 or 3 months, until most of the apps that you use, the third-party apps, are upgraded to it. As a matter of fact, I got a newsletter from the makers of Ulysses, which is my current favorite word processor, explaining about how much they have to do in order to get the Ulysses app running under liquid glass, because as the hidden story behind most third-party app design is that oftentimes Apple does not provide them with the APIs they need to get the user interface that they actually want that's required for this specific application. So they wind up not using Apple's built-in like windowing tiling system. So they have to write their own tiling system. In the newsletter, they're saying, well, look, there's a time where we needed 4 tiles and they can only give us 3. And now we also want to make these individual tiles more dynamic and put controls in them that the Apple's own system does not let us do. So we had to basically write our own windowing and our own tiling system from scratch. Now we have the option of either rewriting all of that to work fine with liquid glass, or to switch to abandon our own designs, or our own code, and try to figure out how to make our UI work within this other UI language. So it's not that I don't think that there's so much pushback from developers so much as it's not a trivial thing to do. And the thing is, like, you kind of all your users are asking you, hey, I really wish that Markdown could work with this brand new blogging platform. Can you do that for us? That's what they're asking for. They're not asking for, hey, could you make the user interface more liquid glassy? And so when you have to basically tolerate a regime change, so to speak, at Apple UI design, you kind of feel a little bit resentful that you're not putting that amount of time in and actually giving your users the features they've been asking for the past couple of years.
I have to say I'm not a fan, but again, not such a hater that I've turned it off. But I just like the translucent folders. I can understand why people it makes you a little queasy when the folder backgrounds are kind of
the folder thing is a bit much, and it was throughout the summer, and it's a bit much. I don't know, this like redesigns happen and then they get tweaked over time, and this has all happened before, and this will all happen again. I think I agree with Andy. It seems
gratuitous. I don't know why they needed to do this.
They needed to do it because they felt like their design system was at the end and it's time for a refresh, and I think that that's fashion, and I think that that's a real thing, and I think that the people who are complaining about it from a style standpoint are like, well, it was fine. Why don't we leave it the same? I think the answer is that then you feel like you're getting stale and you want it to look cool again. Right. And then everybody goes through the ringer where Apple will spend multiple revisions trying to tweak things about it. And developers are the ones we really need to feel for, because it is an enormous amount of new work that developers have to do in order to get this stuff to look right, especially on iOS. On macOS, Andy is absolutely right. It's a light touch, and I can be offended as a Mac user that they sort of didn't put the effort in, but I'm also kind of relieved as a Mac user that they didn't put the effort in, because it's completely usable and it just looks a little different. Some things, it's just, it's been a long time that the volume control, the heads up has been in the center of the screen, and now it's up where the volume controls are. There are some usability reasons it's up there, because that's where you can click and change the volume yourself. But also it's something that, we're used to it being somewhere else. So I would say, give it a little time. And then also, I'm sure there will be a third-party app that will put a giant volume flasher right in your vision if you want it.
Yeah. There's also the idea that realize that Apple doesn't have to speculate about what the hardware is going to be like 4 or 5 years in the future or next year. They have the playbook. So liquid glass could reflect. The Minchie quote is basically doubling down on the idea of Apple doing a touchscreen Mac sometime next year, the year after that. I will believe that when I see really good evidence of it, because I think they missed that bus. That bus is on the other side of the hemisphere right now. But I have to admit that if I am hypothetically willing to accept that this is something they're working on and trying to release in the next couple of years, liquid glass is possibly a more appropriate language to basically put touch points into the Mac interface. I don't
a theory.
Yeah, especially if they keep evolving it. I don't think it's as blatant as when Google first released Material Design, which to me was an absolutely brilliant way to do. Hey, look, if you've got a touchscreen, it works as a touchscreen interface. If you've got a keyboard and a mouse connected to the screen, it works just as well. Only the controls are small enough to look like a desktop, but also big enough and active enough to work like on a small size phone. But I have to look ahead and think that, maybe there's something coming up the next 2 or 3 years where, liquid glass on Mac OS kind of now makes sense.
I already started saving money for the touchscreen M6 MacBook Pro with the OLED. Do you think that's not going to happen? I hope that's going to happen next year.
I don't know. I'm just so adamant that Apple absolutely missed the bus. Like they didn't miss it. They watched it drive away and they waved with a little smug expression. Oh, those people don't know what they're doing.
They could change their mind.
They don't understand user. Yeah, they could, but it's not as simple as creating a portable UI. It really has to be something where it doesn't matter. The moment that I'm using a touchscreen Mac without the keyboard attached, and I think, damn it, where's my keyboard? Because I got to do this one thing. They absolutely lose. So I think it could be coming.
You think we're not going to see a touchscreen Mac next year?
I think it's going to happen. It's going to happen, probably next fall. I think that it's. I mean, it's funny to say they missed the bus, because then they floated. Then they took their limo. Like they haven't. I'm not sure they've suffered for not having it. That
Apple
said,
doesn't take buses. They're not on public
they
trans.
that's for the They take a bespoke Wi-Fi
Yes.
flying carpet.
We
anyway,
had somebody from Consumer Reports on Sunday, Nicholas De Leon, who actually he's the senior technology editor there. He said of all the laptops, the Windows laptops we have, fewer than half have touch. So there's still a long way to go with
there's cheaper laptops in the Windows market that
right.
where
That's
it becomes an issue. But I'll say that I think that the touchscreen. I actually agree with Andy. I think touchscreens are useful because here's the thing: everything else has a touchscreen. Everything else, and as a result, all of us have built up muscle memory. When I'm using my iPad with the keyboard and the trackpad, I still reach up and touch the display sometimes, mostly just to scroll or to tap on something. And then I find myself occasionally doing that on my MacBook Pro. And I'm like, no, don't do it. And that bears out what happened 10 years ago when I had a Chromebook. I forget what it was, what model it was, one of the nice Chromebooks with a touchscreen. And I never used the touchscreen except occasionally I would scroll something or tap something. And mostly it was because your brain has been trained to touch the screen. So let it. And I think that that's what it's going to be. I don't think this is going to be some sort of like dramatic, cataclysmic. Apple said a lot of things about, you don't want to do that. You don't want to mix and match. But I think they're already making a product that does this. It's the iPad in the case, and it's fine. And the world did not end because people aren't reaching out with the zombie arms to do Photoshop with their fingers, right? They're just doing really quick touch interactions that we're all trained to do by our phones now.
Yeah, and I think that the thing is that I think as we watch the OS change and the interface change and how it interacts, I think we're seeing Apple getting ready to do this type of thing, and so I think that as they get the Mac OS, I think the Mac OS 3 years ago or 4 years ago. I mean, I've had touch screens, USB touch screens that you are touching to use a Mac. And you realize how limited that is when the operating system isn't built for touch. And so it's not just like we can make the screen touchable. You have to make the interface touchable as well. And I think that's what Apple's been slowly moving towards. I feel like we should call a date. So I'm going to say November 10th, 2026.
Okay. I like it.
If it doesn't happen, no one's going to remember. But if they do, I'm going to say, hey, I told you so. So it's a November 10th, 2026 Apple release of touchscreen.
Now, I'll give you the offer. Would you like this week? I mean, I don't have to rush out of here too quickly. Do you want to spend the next 5 minutes just saying, I'm saying November 11th? I'm saying November 12th. I got a good feeling about
October
November
15th, I think.
Okay, you're doing October 15th.
I'm going to go with October.
I'm not saying I don't want to see it happen because I have one of the best computing experience I've ever had was with my Pixelbook because it had the yoga style screen where there are times where I'm on the sofa and I actually do want to make this work a little bit like a tablet, and so I can fold it and use it like a tablet. Yeah. Or I'm at a diner and I've got it tented so that I just basically have this touch screen in front of me. And there are times where I'm just, even when it's just a laptop, I'm just sitting there with my hands to the sides of the hinge, and I am just, as Jason said, just using my thumbs to scroll. It's nice to have all those different options. It's nice to be using an art app where I can actually touch the screen and manipulate what I'm creating, manually. So these are all great things. I'm having a hard time figuring out how Apple can pull off a revolution like that without basically having a huge conversation with the users about, now we basically are creating this new blob called Apple software. And sometimes it articulates itself on an iPad. Sometimes it articulates itself on a small screen phone. Sometimes it articulates itself on a conventional notebook. And we're trying not to confuse the hell out of you about which one you want for each one of these tasks, if we are basically creating the big sticky ball of Apple user interface that articulates itself on different devices in different ways. If Apple didn't have an iPad already, it would seem a lot easier than what they're doing right now. As is, how do you talk somebody into spending $1,000 on a nice premium iPad Pro, particularly another $300 for the keyboard, and not something that will feel very, very similar, particularly after another year or two of creating liquid glass homogeneity between all these platforms? How do you basically distinguish one of these devices from another device? So there's going to be a lot of evangelism that Apple's going to have to perform to make sure that they've got their story straight by the time they put these first devices on the market.
Meanwhile, it's 2025, and Ming-Chi Kuo also says that mass production is about to begin on the cheap MacBook, the one based on an iPhone processor that might be $600 to $700.
That's probably the most exciting.
With 5G.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's
we'll
one of the
see
more
that
exciting things.
This year? Yeah.
He's saying manufacturing this year, so you would think spring, which would
He
make
says
sense.
late 2025 or early 26. He says mass production in the fourth quarter, which is, of course, starting October.
It would make sense as something they would sell for, like, to make sure that it's in stock when people are buying stuff to go back to school with, and also for companies and outfits and educational institutions that might buy 100 or 200 of them, and those buying patterns, unless they've changed since the last time I checked, tend to happen in March, April, and May. So
I just can't remember the last time. I can't remember the last time that Apple released a laptop in the spring. Like it might have been a very.
Well,
I mean, usually
also,
November is the time to do that. So
that's fair, but
it means that you have a handful of people buying them, thinking about it, and then you're into the sale.
For the Christmas buying season.
But again, who are you selling these to? You're not selling these to for people who. No, you're selling these to. You're selling these to people who are largely going to be taking them to school or buying them for large bulk purchases. And also, that is a good observation, but. Up until a year ago, you couldn't. Oh God, I can't imagine when was the last time Apple released a phone in the spring? Well, they decided to start releasing phones in the spring, and they might do that even more. I mean, it's part of. We've talked about this a couple of times about how Apple seems to be on this march of progress in marketing of saying that rather than limit our influx of sales into these big spikes that happen at predictable times, what if we can spread out our earnings or the money that we take in over the course of the year, and to have a laptop event that happens in the spring would certainly help to smooth that out if that is one of their goals.
I think it's going to be exciting either way. Like I think that's probably one of the most exciting Macs. I mean, I think the M4 is really exciting. I think everything else is good. Like they're solid, like all the other stuff that's going out. But
is it the price that excites you?
Oh man, I'd love. I mean, the lower they can make that price, and the more accessible they make that price, the more they cause havoc. Someone just asked, how to do encoding or whatever. What's the most powerful computer I can get under $1,000 right now? And I was like, well, an M4 Mac Mini, super disruptive. Like that little box, for $600 for what it can do. And I think Apple doing that more often is really disruptive to the entire industry.
I'd also like to point out that on October 15th, Windows 10 will hit end of life. And Microsoft will stop offering free security updates for Windows 10, hoping to push everybody to Windows 11. But a great many, at least half, it's estimated, according to Consumer Reports, of PC users are still running Windows 10, and many of them cannot upgrade to Windows 11 without buying new hardware. October 15th might be an important date from Apple's point of view.
Like, hey,
that's the time when people are going to be starting to say, maybe it's time to get out of this Windows thing and look somewhere else.
Yeah, and the reality is that if the specs turn out to be what they are, huge number of people that have inexpensive PC laptops would be totally fine using this. And so I think that's another piece of that puzzle.
Andy has frequently on this podcast made a point that I think it's really important to make, which is understanding the large market that Apple has largely avoided by not selling more affordable computers, and that those people exist and they want. And I know Apple's aspirational as a brand, but also it's important to keep in mind there are price points that Apple has refused historically to serve that are an opportunity should they choose to go down there. And I think this, the rumored laptop, like I think all their experimentation with the Walmart M1 MacBook Air and all of that, like the opportunity to reach people who have never really seriously considered an Apple, or they get one used or whatever, because they start too high. $999, it's too high. It's too much. If they could get in with a processor that's still really good, and honestly, if it's at all like a MacBook Air, like a fit and finish that's really nice, because I think if any of us have put your hands on a cheap laptop, they work. Yeah. They feel crappy, but they work. They don't. I think Apple has an opportunity. You get that Apple design in somebody's hands for that price, and they're going to feel like really good about it, that there's a real value to that, because Apple does have some standards below which they won't go. And yeah, then you pick up a PC laptop, sometimes a cheap PC laptop especially, and you're like, what? Like, I can't believe they're still making them like this. But of course they are, because they're charging $300 for them. That's why they feel cheap. And so you get your hands on something that even remotely approaches a MacBook Air. And I think I'm excited about the possibility of that. I think it's amazing that Apple Silicon has led Apple to this point.
Can I say the extra excitement is that that Ming-Chi Kuo is mentioning 5G on these devices, which would make them the first MacBooks that have actual onboard mobile broadband, which is so long in coming. And in retrospect, now that they're making their own Wi-Fi chips and they're making their own modem chips, maybe this was something that they were working towards. They said, well, okay, maybe there are prototypes that they made which were not suitable, and they say, well, look, why don't we create this new project for this new version of Apple Silicon-based modem chips that can integrate Wi-Fi that will work with the performance structure and the power curve that we actually want this to work with, because that is to me, that is one of the most beautiful pieces of luxury, to have an iPad or a MacBook or a tablet or a laptop that has 5G built in, where I spend extra for that data plan, where on the as long as it's not, where there's a cap on hotspot usage, but direct usage is absolutely unlimited and no speed caps. And it's like the ability to simply open up this laptop wherever I am and have internet connectivity and be able to use it like a laptop without having to do things like, gee, I've got to do a MacBreak weekly in a half hour and there's no internet. Yeah. Where can I go in the next half hour where I can get like a good broadband connection?
Yeah, it really.
But I'm joking. But that is when you don't even have to think about how you're going to connect to the internet. Even you don't even have to think about, oh, isn't it great that we have this tech? They have this system that allows it to find this phone and connect to it as a hotspot automatically. No, it doesn't matter. Just open the lid, and if there is broadband on over 5G, it will find it, and you will be on the information superhighway.
Yeah, once the cellular comes to one Mac laptop, it will come to all of them immediately, right? That's going to happen, and it's going to happen fast, and I hope it happens real soon, because I think everything you said, Andy, you got it exactly right. And there are people who somehow want to refuse to believe. There's an aspect of Apple fandom that's like, if Apple isn't doing it, it must mean that it's impossible, and there's no reason, otherwise they would have already done it already.
Other people got there first, but they're not doing it right. They rushed to market. Apple's very wise.
Yeah, it's so weird, especially since the iPad's right there. The cellular iPads have been for sale since day one of the iPad, and if you don't have a use for it, that's fine, but like, they've made the cellular SKU available on the iPad forever. People obviously buy it, or they wouldn't do that. I have a cellular iPad. It's great because tethering has lots of issues, so to not have those issues on your laptop, I hope that's real too. I hope that happens.
Apple has had no trouble kowtowing to the United States government, but in the EU, they're fighting back. On Friday, the EU rejected Apple's request to have it scrap its order requiring Apple to make its phone work with other devices. Greg Joswiak says that the European regulators are creating, quote, a worse experience for their citizens, our users. They're undermining innovation. They're infringing our intellectual property. They're damaging privacy and security. Apple has withheld the AirPods translation feature from the EU, claiming that EU privacy regulations make that impossible. I'm not sure if that's the case. They're at war with the EU in great contrast to their appeasement strategy.
Yeah, the EU is asking for different things than the United States is asking for.
Yeah,
well, but also, yeah, and some of the, I will say that as much as I think that it's okay for $3 trillion companies to be regulated by governments who believe that they're acting in the interests of their citizens, there are some areas where Apple does have a point. One of the other features that they mentioned that, hey, we're not doing iPhone mirroring because we don't know that the EU regulation is vague enough that we don't know if we would be required to allow people to mirror their Android phones onto Mac OS as well. And so it's simpler for us to simply not even just bother with that at all. There is a point to that, but it's Apple's going to have to figure out how to actually play nice with the EU because they're not going away, and they got their big brother with the $600 billion payoff, saying, by the way, we would like to not have to pay any of these $500 million fines that we're being assessed for not complying with EU safety, privacy, and security laws. And we would like to make this a diplomatic matter that could involve like battleships and satellites and things like that. That's when things get very, very itchy. I wish I understood why Apple fights some of these things so hard to the absolute point of almost dishonoring and embarrassing themselves in certain specific cases. Whereas in so many other cases, they're willing to simply say, "Oh yeah, sure, fine, whatever. We'll take that off the App Store. Absolutely, no problem. We'll do that."
Apple will be impacted by the H-1B visa rules, although those rules seem to be a moving target. It was going to be a yearly $100,000 fee for H-1B applicants, and now apparently it's just a one-time fee. It's not clear. Amazon has the most H-1B employees, 10,000, but Apple's fifth with 4,202 H-1B. You know, I think there's really two uses of the H-1B. One of them, and I think the administration is right to try to crack down on this, is to bring in low-cost foreign workers to replace American workers. But the other is to bring in high-value workers, often researchers in AI and other fields. And having to spend $100,000 for each of them might be prohibitive. Not so much for Apple or Amazon. It's actually more for startups.
This is actually really good for the larger companies, because the larger companies can afford to just say, "We'll pay $100,000 for this person," or they'll send them back, or whatever. But what it does is it reduces competition for the top 10, the Fortune 10. They were all sitting in that room with Trump. They probably were told about it and weren't complaining, because it's a buffer between them and
I think there were some complaints because the initial announcement changed significantly.
Well, Netflix, but like
over
Netflix
a period of 24 hours.
Netflix came out and said, "Oh, we think this is a great idea," because this is a great idea for them.
Yeah.
So it's so I think that large companies do really well when you create more speed bumps to bring people in. I think it's a great deal for a lot of foreign countries, because it just means that there's going to be a lot more infrastructure built outside.
People won't leave.
100%. Of that 4,200, that's 4,200 H-1B workers total. So not all of them would be. Apple wouldn't have to write 4,200 checks for $100,000. It would only be like for new ones. Yeah. And Apple, in the space of the last year, they only added on about 320 new workers, and that wouldn't even necessarily be 320 times 100,000, because it's possible the way that the government reports these numbers, it's possible that they just simply brought in H-1B workers that were already here for other employment, and they brought them in. Right. But you see how difficult it's going to be for any company not the size of Apple to compete with that, and that has the double effect of making sure that power of emerging technologies like AI continue to be consolidated in the hands of companies that have these trillion-dollar valuations, and also, as you said, Leo, workers that are just simply would be exported to the United States and become part of the United States asset team of technology innovators are now going to remain part of the Indian technology innovators team, which is great for India.
Well, we'll watch with interest. It seems to have changed significantly from Friday, when Howard Lutnick said it's going to be an annual fee 4 times. Yeah. And then on Saturday, no, it's just one time only.
They did also say they're going to be stepping up enforcement too, which would scare Apple or all these companies just as much, though.
Right. All right, let's take a final break here and get your picks of the week ready, my friends. Andy Ihnatko, Alex Lindsay, Jason Snell. You're watching MacBreak Weekly. And while we're on the subject, I would like to very much thank our club members for making this show possible. Club TWiT provides 25% of our operating expenses. And as time goes by, I really would love to see that number go up 50, maybe even 100% of our costs, because I think it's the right way to do it. We always will offer our programming for free. We do. You can watch it on YouTube. You can watch it as we do it. You could download it from our site. You could subscribe to it for free. But if you pay $10 a month, you get ad-free versions of all the shows. You get video with shows we only put out in audio. You get access to special events in the club. We've just scheduled Stacy's book club. That's going to be a lot of fun in October. The book is fantastic. I'm really enjoying it. A memory called Empire. Tomorrow, Micah's Crafting Corner, 6 p.m. It's the fourth Wednesday of every month. We also have our AI user group coming up first Friday, so that'll be October 3rd. We also have the photo segment with Chris Marquardt, the book club with Stacy, and a whole lot more. These are fun events in our Club TWiT Discord. The Discord is a great hangout for geeks of all stripes. We love having you in there. I think we give you a lot of benefits, but the main benefit from my point of view is it keeps our programming on the air. And I think nowadays it's really important that there be a source of independent information. The club's saying hello. Independent information, not owned by a big corporation, without fear or favor, not in the pocket of anybody, not regulated by government regulation. We think it's pretty important that we keep doing what we're doing. And thanks to the club, we're able to do that. So if you'd like to help out, please, twit.tv/clubtwit. You too could be on the naughty list. I guess we've decided that that's the naughty list, right? Twit.tv. It's the nice list from my point of view, /clubtwit. Thanks in advance. Jason Snell, you've been gone for a few weeks. I bet you've collected some pics in your mind.
You know, when I said I would do this show, the one thing I didn't count on was having to make 50 pics a year.
That's a lot.
It is. I'm gonna highlight a product that just got updated and it was basically announced last spring of 24. Or was it fall of 23? Anyway, a while ago now. Final Cut Camera 2.0 came out. It's got a bunch of things that only Alex knows about on this panel, but that's cool, right? It's got ProRes RAW and stuff like that. But the reason I wanted to talk about it is that I was just in Memphis and Mike Hurley and I did Upgrade in person, and we usually have this whole workflow for us being in our separate offices to record the show. And I was thinking, how are we going to do our video version in a hotel room? And what we ended up doing was using Final Cut Camera and Final Cut Pro on the iPad to do it. We set up 2 iPhones on tripods and an iPad that basically you can set up these up to 4 cameras remote streaming to an iPad that's recording. It sends over a proxy video, and then when you're done recording, they automatically send the full quality video. So you can get you have a multi-camera rig that is literally a couple of phones and an iPad and shoot 4K HDR if you want to. So we did that. The latest episode of Upgrade was shot with an iPhone 16 Pro, an iPhone Air, and an M4 iPad Pro, and then edited in the Memphis airport by me on the iPad Pro, which couldn't be easier because it's a multi-cam clip. So you shoot all those cameras and they're all stacked and synced in Final Cut, and you can literally just tap to change the camera angle. And I was very quickly able to do the whole thing. So pretty cool.
I thought this was an audio podcast. Where do I see the video?
On YouTube, there's a YouTube link in our show notes if you want to pull it up there, because we do a YouTube version every week, and that led to the problem of when you do it live, you don't have your system. So how do you do it? So that's how we did it. Was we set up a full? It's really unreal. I mean, Alex can jump in here, but to literally just take stuff out of your pocket and have a multicam. We're just in a hotel room, but we had a full-on 3-camera setup that I was able to build the show out of in no time, less than an hour, because I could actually look at the waveforms and see who was talking and very quickly jump to when it was a back and forth or when it was a monologue and switch the cameras around. And, I was amazed by it. I knew about it and had messed around with it, but in the moment where I needed to solve a problem, I realized the problem could be solved by using our existing iPhones and making a studio using Final Cut Camera, and it worked. It was great.
That's neat. Makes me wonder why we go to
streaming live is different, right? Streaming live is different.
That's a good point.
But in this case, we weren't streaming the video live, but we needed a video output that we could export. And the idea, when I was in high school, we used to have like cameras and a switcher and a preview monitor, and it took us like an hour to set it up with all these cables that you had to tape down. And now it uses, because the hotel had terrible Wi-Fi, I should say that too, but it's using the same pathway as things like AirDrop does. It's all ad hoc Wi-Fi. So it's device to device Wi-Fi. There's no networking infrastructure used. The devices are talking amongst themselves. And I don't know if you know this, but Wi-Fi is pretty fast now, especially on modern hardware. And as a result, you don't need any infrastructure at all. You just like turn on the phones and turn on the iPad, and boom, you've got a multi-camera switchable
double
thing.
ending to those cameras, right? I mean, each phone is recording its own thing, and then so even if the Wi-Fi is a little choppy here and there, it doesn't matter because it's
streaming
upload.
It's streaming a proxy, so you can make sure that it looks okay on the iPad,
right?
But it's recording locally, and then when the recording is done, the full quality stuff is then blasted over to the iPad, which just stores it all as a multicam clip in Final Cut.
And you edited it in Final Cut for the iPad.
And I edited it on my iPad in the Memphis hotel room or in the Memphis airport before boarding my flight. And I got almost all the way through it before I even got on the flight. So this pretty incredible.
Final Cut camera and Studio or Pro rather were updated across the board at the same time as they released the new products.
Yeah, actually not true. So they introduced this all with the M4 iPad Pro.
Oh, okay.
Final Cut Camera 2.0, which supports a bunch of those fancy features, got updated. But there's the thing that I discovered. Final Cut Pro for iPad has not yet been updated. So when I did my file export at the end, I had the little dialog box that says, please don't leave here. And that is now supported in iOS 26, and Final Cut is supposed to be one of the apps that supports it, but that update hasn't come out yet. So you can't just kick it into a background process. You have to sit there and watch the progress as it exports.
That's got to be imminent, I would expect.
It's got to be.
Right?
And do you have to, and you need an M4 iPad to do that central control?
You need an iPad to do it. It doesn't weirdly work with the Mac. So you need an iPad as the central control area. One of the funny things, so we tried, and we had a third phone and it wouldn't connect. They saw each other and it was very frustrating and it wouldn't connect. So what we ended up doing is shooting, the third camera was the iPad. I literally put the iPad on top of my suitcase, on top of the bed in the hotel room, and shot, because that iPad Pro, that's got a 4K video capability on it too.
Were you feeding audio into it?
No. So we recorded the audio separately from our two microphones, and then Mike just airdropped me those audio files, and I put them in the project.
If you had an audio interface, it would probably record.
Yeah, I think if we had been going to a USB interface and it was going into the iPad, we would have been able to pick it up that way. Yeah. And that was beyond the scope of what we wanted to do here. But again, I just want to say, we did a 3-camera shoot in a hotel room for basically, other than the setup, basically zero effort, which is the limit of the effort we wanted to put into it. And I think that's kind of amazing. Like you could do that for anything, and it would be like, and since it's all streaming to the iPad and editable after the fact, you don't even need to direct it in the moment. You just need to capture it, and then you can build your output later.
Should point out, by the way, you cannot tell the difference between the iPad camera and the iPhone camera. They match perfectly well.
I think the iPhones I set to record at 1080, and the iPad was natively capturing at 4K, and that let me zoom, because I had to zoom in a little bit. The iPad was a little too far away, but it looks good. I mean, for a zero budget, all we did is,
and you could theoretically on those phones use the longer lenses now, so you could have like a long lens on you and a long. Yeah,
one of my favorite features of this is that preview is live, and it's got remote control on it. So you can see exactly what's going on, and you can switch. You can use any of the lens types that they've got on modern iPhones in order to get the shot the way you want it. And then you can look on the iPad and see that it's actually the shot. You get that preview window and you see that the shots are all coming in and they look good. It's very cool. Again, it's kind of nichey, but literally it's in some ways, this is the super Alex type pick. In some ways, it's the super anti-Alex type pick, because it's all hardware you already probably have in your pocket or in your bag that you can break out. And I bought a cheap version of something I picked before, a cheap $25 iPhone tripod on Amazon, had shipped to the hotel.
Yep.
And, it did the job. I couldn't be more impressed with it.
That's cool.
Very nice. Upgraded Final Cut Pro camera, and soon to be upgraded, I presume.
I
Final
hope so.
Cut Pro for the iPad. Yeah, very nice. Alex Lindsay, your pick of the week.
So I have this idea of being able to take a lot of the stuff I'm working on and make USDZs out of them. But the problem really is taking lots of pictures of an object is different than actually building a 3D model of it, especially when the object gets kind of complicated. And so I've been circling this device for a while and finally decided to pull the trigger. And this is a Revo Point. And this is the scanner. This is a 3D scanner. Now, I just want to put in perspective, when I started doing 3D scanning, it was 1990.
I know, because you drew dots on my face.
Well, yeah, that was photogrammetry.
Marker.
That was photogrammetry, and this is scanning. So the first ones were 1999, and it was a $400,000 cyberware scanner, and we would send it away for a day at ILM, and someone would come back and give us a model that was okay. So what this does is this you can go by hand, just go around something, and just kind of and again, these were. A couple of years ago, these were $15,000. So we're talking about, even recently, this one's about, with all the kit, it's got a bunch of little reflectors and stuff that you use. It's about $1,200, and it is a little scanner. And to give you a sense of the detail that you can get, this is the first test that I did. I did a couple little tests, but the first one that I did that had any detail was, of course, this camera. So I had the camera there.
Wow.
So that is a 3D model. That is 3D points. It's a lot. You can see the details in the knobs, like the little, the accuracy is 0.2 millimeters. So it is
0.02 millimeters, my friend.
Point. Well, the way I have it set was 0.2.
Oh, okay. According to their website,
it slows down. You get to 0.02 and it starts
metrology grade accuracy. I don't know what metrology is, but
now what we're going to do is take this and then build a lighter 3D model. This is 6 million polygons right now. But the point is that it is, its ability to kind of grab onto everything. And this took took me about 30 minutes to slowly kind of work my way around it. But now, I can take lots of photos, and I tried photogrammetry with the phone, and I tried photogrammetry with a couple other things, and it just was missing a lot of detail. And I was like, okay, enough. so I scanned it, and it's pretty amazing. And so, but if you're, obviously people do a lot of use for reverse engineering, and I need to build things onto things. And so being able to have the exact scan of something is useful. And I'm trying to use it for education around this camera and around other things where I can, I want to be able to have the big thing now is that we have these USDZ support inside of Motion, Keynote, and other things. With the scanner, you could scan the object. And now there's a little bit of more work to do to make it a 3D model that's light and easy to use. But this cuts a lot of the guesswork down dramatically. So it's pretty cool. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to ask you, I saw you post about this on Instagram, and I just needed to ask, is it a self-contained unit, or do you need to have it tethered to a laptop or something like that? It's
tethered. So this one, they make so the company RevoPoint makes one that's self-contained that you can it's actually less expensive than this one, but not quite as accurate. This one I bought specifically because it handles black metal. Because I'm going to do cameras, Blackmagic cameras specifically. I was like, I need something that does black metal. So it shifts gears when you say, I got a shiny object. And so this does mount, but you can mount it to a laptop I have it mounted to my other computer. And so it is tethered, but they do make another one that is not tethered. You can just walk around, put it in your backpack for $800 or whatever, and wander around and scan things. And so it's again, the technology is not new really. And I know it sounds expensive, but compared to where this has been pretty recently, like a couple years ago, and I got into it. A friend of mine, Nick Jushishin, who runs the media lab at Drexel University, he was like, "You got to see this thing. Look at what I'm scanning." And he had a different version of this. And as I researched it, it's what I've been wanting for.
I want something like that. Even better if it's self-contained. But one of my favorite hobbies, whenever I'm in a museum, is to do what I call an art heist. Which is, wow, that's a really great sculpture. I think I'll steal it. I think I'll capture data so I can turn into a 3D model and maybe at some later date turn into like a 3D print. And I'm so, of terms of luxury tech, where I cannot justify it, $1,000 for a really good where it's not about the photogrammetry, like I say, it really is like, no, you don't have to look that suspicious. You're just sort of like, oh look, I'm not coming that close to it. I'm just sort of going around.
One of the things, people would notice if you use this one because it's got a bunch of little lasers that come out of it and stuff like that. In fact, you'll notice that I put the.
You look like Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible. Is what you're saying.
I kept the cap off. Put the cap on because of I left it on because of Marquez Brownlee's video about what the car LiDAR did to his phone, and I was like, I think I'm gonna not have. Good so I did that, and I covered the lenses. I was like, I don't know if I want to hit the sensors with this. So but it is something that I think figuring out ways to get 3D into the ecosystem, I think is going to be really interesting. Again, from an education perspective, I'm kind of surprised it's taking this long for us to start really using these tools to because what happens is once you have USDZ, if you get a really realistic looking model that's relatively light, it means that you can build all the training in Keynote without any 3D packages. Like you don't need Cinema 4D or Blender or anything else. Once you have that there, you can just kind of throw it in there and animate it and put little highlights in it and talk about it. And that's kind of the direction I'm working on going.
Nice.
Yeah.
A Metro X 3D scanner, $999. Pretty good deal.
Just a little over an Alex. It's not bad.
Yeah. That's nothing.
Next time you come to visit, you are bringing that, and we're going to the Boston Public Library with big overcoats.
It's not me, officer. It's him. It's him.
Exactly. I know Andy will do something crazy on one side of the
distract
museum
them
and pull everyone in.
Bring the smoke bombs,
and I will secretly scan the sculpture.
Revo.3d.com for more information. Andy Anako, pick of the week.
Well,
don't make it your sculpture garden, okay?
No. Well,
okay.
I'm just, as a Gen Xer, sometimes you just got to sit down and write a 2-page single-space report on the solar system or the Louisiana Purchase just to see if you still got it, from middle school. And the last step of that, well, you're not going to print that out on a laser printer or on an inkjet printer. You want to take it into like the school's computer lab where a pristine, beautiful, putty colored Epson MX80 or FX80 dot matrix printer is sitting and waiting for your connection. And for that, you can go get a set of fonts made by Michael Walden and just released last month, a reproduction of the Epson MX80 printer fonts. Now, there are a lot of font databases and font collections, especially free font collections, that have, oh, well, look, it's a dot matrix printer. And those of you and people who were born after 1980 will say, oh, wow, look, it's so cool and it's so retro, or maybe after the 90s. And those will say that is a font made out of dots. That does not look like a dot matrix printer. You see, those pins were often offset and irregular, and they had some of them were extra wide and too wide. And no. But this is nearly the real thing, and it's a free font. The other nice thing about this, the link will be like in the show notes for people. But the other great thing about it, is that at the bottom he does have links to other Epson FX80 and MX80 free fonts that he thought were not quite right. The only thing that I don't like about his collection is that it's only like the wide version of the fonts. The great thing about the FX80 and the MX80 is that you could basically send codes to the printer in your print job so that you can manipulate the width and manipulate whether there's going to be overstrike so that you kind of get a higher resolution by basically tearing through the ribbon, but it's not your printer. It belongs to the school, so you don't care. So there's between this and a couple of those other fonts, I do have those standing by for, again, when I want to relive those old glories of a gold star on the paper from young Andy Anatko, the one of only 2 people in the entire school who actually enjoyed writing and could actually write so well enough that would regularly be accused of basically going down the library and stealing from the Encyclopedia Britannica.
And incidentally, you'll be glad to know the website is HTML 4.0 transitional compatible. So
yes.
IE6 will work fine. That's very nice to know. Look at that. That is a memory. Now, I can't say a pleasant memory, but it is a memory.
I'm not a biggest fan of the super wide, but those before desktop publishing, before laser printing, the people who knew how to rock that character set, because like you get there was a moment where I wonder if I'm part of the last generation where the teachers would say, okay, you can have 1 page of notes, but only 1 page, figuring that, okay, well, not only can I print this on the FX80, but I know how to make the characters basically 1/8 of their normal size. So I can basically put 24 pages on 1 sheet of paper. Again, it will destroy the ribbon, but once again, it's not my ribbon. It was a fun time, wasn't it?
mw.rat.bz is the website.
Michael Walden, Walden.
There you go. I think you could probably search for MX80 fonts and
there are a lot of hits. Again, some of them were good, some of them were bad, but it's a good one URL that has a good collection of them.
Very nice. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you all for being here. Andy Anako is now released from his short time in the cell.
I'm safe. I'm in my private bunker.
You're safe.
I won't say what southwestern state I'm in.
Thank you, Andy, for being here. Alex Lindsay, officehours.global. You're working on anything interesting these days?
We just had our first live, as I said earlier, for the immersive camera. So we're going to hopefully do more of those. So it's my second video on that page, and we're going to be posting some more this week. So that is, but there's a live discussion on OH Global Immersive in YouTube. And we're talking, a couple of us, Chris Petracco and Brenton Henry and I discussed, along with Grant Whitehead, discussed our early days with the immersive camera and what we're learning. So if you're interested in that, that's what we're doing.
Very nice, very nice. And those videos are again available on YouTube at OH Global Immersive. Thank you, Andrew. And of course, if you, Alex. And of course, if you want to join Office Hours every morning, go to officehours.global. And if you want to hire Alex, 090.media. He's the guy for your next event. Mr. Jason Snell, great to have you back. sixcolors.com. I hope you get a little rest and relaxation after your marathon adventures back east.
Just got to review some iPhones now, I guess.
Yeah, a few, huh? Wow. Well, have fun doing that.
Thank you.
Anything else you want to mention? Just watch that upgrade episode.
Yeah, sure. Just keep your eyes on sixcolors.com. Do that for whatever I put there.
Thank you, everybody, for being here. We do MacBreak Weekly on Tuesdays, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, 1800 UTC. You can watch us live in 8 different places. Of course, Club TWiT members get to watch the Behind the Velvet Rope version in the Club TWiT Discord, but there's also YouTube, Twitch, X.com, TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Kick. But you don't have to watch live. I mean, that's the extra credit version. You can always watch it after the fact. We have on-demand versions of the show, audio and video, at our website, twit.tv/mbw. There's a YouTube channel dedicated to the video. Great way to share little clips with friends and family. If you saw something you thought they'd be interested in, do that. It helps us spread the word. And of course, if you're a regular, you should probably subscribe in your favorite podcast player. That way you'll get it automatically. It's free, audio or video. Just pick your favorite podcast player. Leave us a nice review, if you will. That would help us spread the word as well. Thank you for being here, everybody. But now it is my sad and solemn duty to tell you, as I have, lo, these many years, it's time to get back to work because break time is over. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye. No matter how much spare time you have, twit.tv has the perfect tech news format for your schedule. Stay up to date with everything happening in tech and get tech news your way with twit.tv. Start your week with This Week in Tech for an in-depth, comprehensive dive into the top stories every week. And for a midweek boost, Tech News Weekly brings you concise, quick updates with the journalists breaking the news. Whether you need just the nuts and bolts or want the full analysis, stay informed with twit.tv's perfect pairing of tech news programs.